This is Snowy Shaw, not from Morbid Angel, not from Iron Maiden, not from Black Sabbath, but pretty much every other band that you can think of. I see you at the Tampa Morgue.
You shall have no other gods before me. They say we're sick practitioners of the devil's music. I say who claims that it's a fool, but it's all our music. This is who we are and who we wanna be. We don't need all God, got all we need. I sold my soul to rock and roll. That is my religion. I sold my soul to rock and roll. That is my religion. Raise your fist and let us pray. The black sheep of the family was a misconception. My folks were cool and rock and roll, and without religion. This is what we are and what we wanna be. We don't need all God, got all we need. We sold our souls to rock and roll. That is our religion. We sold our souls to rock and roll. That is our religion. We don't really care what anybody says. No, Frank, it was not fun. I'll never be your slave. We don't really care what anybody says. Listen up, all right, and let us play. Souls for rock and roll, that is our religion. We sold our souls for rock and roll, that is our religion. We sold our souls for rock and roll, that is our religion. We sold our souls for rock and roll, that is our religion. We sold our souls for rock and roll, that is our religion. We sold our souls for rock and roll, that is our religion. To the day we sold our souls for rock and roll, oh yeah. To the day we sold our souls for rock and roll, oh yeah.
What's up? This is Tony, and you are listening to the Tampa Morgue. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, Mr. Ed Webb. What's up, dude?
Mr. Anderson, what's going on, brother?
Not much, man. Early morning for you today, but it's good to see
It
you
is.
on.
It
Um,
is.
We're going to get right to our guest because I have a lot of stuff I want to talk to him about. I think of this guy almost as remember the silent movie star? I'm sure you do. We all do. Lon Chaney was the man of 1,000 faces, right? Well, today I should say, we're joined by Snowy Shaw, who is the man of 1,000 bands. Snowy,
Yeah,
first of all,
I thought you were going to say the man of 1,000 feces. You know.
I wanted to say that at first, but Ed told me to leave that out.
Yeah.
How you doing, Snowy?
I'm doing good here. Yeah. Just had a slow morning, drinking coffee and doing some work, and it's good to have a little chat here with you guys.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming on, man. And before we start bombarding you with questions, why don't you, the stuff that we don't know possibly, what's going on right now with you? Like, what do you have going on in the world of Snowy Shaw? Like, I know you're always busy, but I haven't heard any updates in the last couple of months. So
yeah, but it's kind of a tricky question. I've been through so much personal shit, like divorces that been dragged out for like 3 years now and counting, and all kinds of shit. So I kind of I've been writing shitloads of music, and I've been doing the occasional session work, and I just finished. I'm working on the artwork now, and also like a lyric video for something called Breakfast for Champions. It's some sort of Iggy Pop studios kind of rock and roll, acoustic punk, I would say. So that is kind of like a fun little side project. But as soon as I get my head around all the new equipment on my studio that I sort of bought like 5 months ago or something, I'm trying to get the hang of it because I have to relearn how to work with all the fucking modern technology. So once I get my head around all of that, I'm gonna start working on new music and recording that, under my own name, sort of, so to speak.
okay, I figured I'd get that in there before we started asking you a bunch of stuff. But so you were actually born in '68 in Gothenburg.
Yep.
Okay, so that's the second largest city in Sweden. I was there once over by that amusement park. What is that, the Liseberg amusement park?
Liseberg. Yeah, Liseberg. Yeah.
Okay,
I think it's like before they had in Paris Disney World or Disneyland or whatever. I think it was the biggest amusement park in Europe, I suppose.
Yeah, that was the only time I was in Sweden. But you guys, and also Sweden, you guys are also have I was looking at this, the most Eurovision wins ever from a country, right?
I'm not so sure. I mean, it's been like this hysterical thing going on here now for all those whatever the fuck you call it. It's like in the past, it was once, then you voted for Eurovision, and then the what do you say? Like just for Sweden, and then it became the Eurovision one. But I haven't paid attention. I was playing with Key Marcello during that in 2005, and I haven't watched it since. Not because I was pissed off because we didn't win, because I didn't expect anything from that. But I am not interested whatsoever in that crap,
I mean, when you performed with Key, you didn't really want to do it at first to begin with, correct?
No, I was, he had to coax me into doing that. Come on, it can be fun. And at the end of the day, I just figured out, okay, why not? Let's try something new and see how it is. I mean, it's a kind of an experiment or a learning process or something to hang out with, let's say, global superstars, which they think they are, even though they are just in Sweden, we're popular in Sweden. So I said, but it was fun. You learn a lot from that, all these local, or let's say, domestic divas and all that. But it was quite fun, I gotta say. Yeah.
Okay.
But when they called me the next year, actually, from the administration, they said, okay, we want you to be a part of this artist here to compete for this year's Eurovision Song Contest. Okay, I never heard of the person. Can you send me the song? No, unfortunately, I can't do that. Though that's against the rules or whatever they said. Okay, what's the pay? I said, it's not that much. You get this much for, if you go to the second term or whatever, second chance or something like that, then you get that like double up then or something. And I said, but then I really need to make my own sort of evaluation of it if I think it has any potential to win. Yeah, actually, that makes sense. So they sent me the song, and I said, no, this is not for me, because it was also, let's say, everything is pre-recorded except the lead vocals. And this was fucking 17 years ago or something. So probably now everything is pre-recorded. So I said, so they didn't want my musical qualities or anything. They just wanted a fucking monkey or a clown, basically, So then they called me back the next year after that, and I said, you can stop calling. I don't want to be involved in your bullshit show.
Like telemarketers. Yeah. I didn't even hear of Eurovision before I moved to Eastern Europe a couple of years ago. I had no idea what it even was. And my wife, she was like, oh, we're going to watch Eurovision. And I finally found out what it was. And then I had read that you had worked with Key on that before.
Yeah.
And going back to your childhood, basically, your parents were hard workers, right? And they kind of taught you the whole like the honesty thing and to work hard because you guys grew up right around the Volvo dealership over there.
Yeah, I actually still live on what we called in daily speech Devil's Island, Hissing Island. It's called. It's let's say it's like New Jersey in connection to New York, Manhattan. It's like a very blue collar, segregated, fucked up area. I still live there. Yeah, it's just a stone's toss away from the original Volvo factory. And most of the people I went to school with, they ended up there or in the industry, working in the dockyard, wharf or whatever, building boats and ships and shit like that. So, when I discovered Kiss as a child, wow, that's what I want to do in my life. I want to be a superhero. So, I mean, that is not what your parents want to hear. Okay, get real for fuck's sake. I mean, that is just a fantasy. Yeah, but
You discovered
a lot
that
of
at
the
7?
people in my generation or in our generation, I would say, we kind of it kind of vouched for that you can actually make it as some sort of a rock musician or heavy metal musician, especially if you have predecessors like ABBA made it international huge, and then you had like Europe and Yngwie Malmsteen and so forth, and that it makes it easier to actually tell your parents that, but okay, it's actually doable. It's kind of funny. I mean, I was doing session work for recording drums for an album for a Spanish band, and you do that from a distance. I'd never met them. I mean, we are just in contact like over the phone and internet and so on. But this was, I don't know, like in 2016 or something. But he flew me down, me and my then wife, to do a video shoot, and he picked me up at the airport, and I said, okay, as much as I appreciate you flying me over here and having like combined vacation and so forth, and I said, why don't you pick a Spanish drummer? I told you right up front that I won't be doing any touring because I'm not interested in that. And he said, it's just not possible to find any Spanish drummers who are dedicated or motivated enough to think that they can make a career out of this. How come? And he said, yeah, because can you name one sort of internationally big Spanish band? And it never crossed my mind before that. So I started thinking Barón Rojo. That's the only it's like from the early 80s. That's the only metal band I could think of at that point. So, I mean, you ever heard about Gothenburg's death metal sound, with In Flames and Dark Tranquillity and all that. When you have people who have succeeded in your close, in your own hometown or something, you can actually point to that and say, look, it worked out for Hammerfall, or it worked out for that band. You can actually, tell that to your parents when you're a kid. And wow, yeah, it can work. But just to be like in the 70s, I want to be like Kiss when I grow up. Okay, dream on, you fucking idiot, right? I mean, nobody can ever be that.
Well, you mentioned the suite. You guys had what? You guys had Europe, which you mentioned, which I still think Wings of Tomorrow is a great record from them. That was actually much heavier than what people think of Europe with the Final Countdown and stuff. You guys had Army of Lovers, Roxette. I mean, there's a bunch of bands that came from there, artists. And you mentioned Kiss. You actually bought that record yourself at 7.
Yeah, I did. I was listening sort of casually to what the older, tougher guys was listening to, like Bachman Turner Overdrive or Nazareth Suite or Black Sabbath or Deep Purple and all that. But yeah, as much as I liked that, but I didn't really get hooked because I was like so much into horror comics, like Werewolf and Dracula and all of that, and Marvel comics and also the superheroes. And so I was like really into that. And when I saw the album cover in this well-assorted store that had pretty much everything like posters and books and magazines and LPs and all that, and I saw the Kiss Destroyer cover, like,
Ken
wow,
Kelly.
what is this? Because it was like this oil painting and emblazoned at the top like Kiss, and it looked like could just as well be a Marvel comic, So it's like, wow, I gotta have this. I didn't even know what it was. I didn't understand that it was a musical album. I thought this is some sort of calendar, but it's the coolest thing I ever seen. I gotta have that. So it was the perfect transition for me. And luckily, Destroyer being produced by the genius Bob Ezrin and all, it's so cinematic. I mean, all those special effects like car crashing and children screaming and crying and all that. So if you just close your eyes and listen to it feels like listening to a dark action movie. Uh, and it sort of triggered your fantasy and imagination, I suppose. And that is pretty much like 45 years later, that is pretty much still the masterpiece and go-to album. Oh, that's what I want to do. Make that kind of music.
And that artwork was like that because I remember it was Ken Kelly did that, and he did the Love Gone, and he did
He
what was
also
it,
did
Conan
all
the
the Manowar
Barbarian,
albums, right? Yeah.
Manowar albums, yeah.
But the funny thing is that Manowar to me in the 80s was to me like what was the Kiss was in the 70s. I was like really obsessed with them in the early 80s. But as things changed and everything became more and more sort of MTV radio friendly commercial and all that with the whole metal thing, and I fucking hated that some
Well,
development. But then they released Fight in the World, and I was waiting for that, and it came out, and it was a exact blueprint replica of Kiss Destroyer, and I started crying.
well, and I don't want to jump ahead too much, but I wanted to ask you about this, so I will jump ahead for a second. You were actually asked to be in Man of War, correct? And you turned
Yep.
it down?
Yeah, I did. This was in 2008. I don't want to go too much into detail about that. I then contacted Ross the Boss, who was no longer in the band, and he gave me some information, and which also made me make up my mind why not to get involved. But to me, it felt like, okay, I mean, you used to be my absolute favorite band in the 80s, Death to False Metal and all that, but I guess it's 20 years too late,
Definitely. And you were also not a fan of Rock and Roll Over, is that true? From Kiss?
Eh, yeah, but like I just explained, when I discovered that in spring of '76, when I was like 7 years old, and found that Destroyer album, and then I immediately pretty much went out and bought the previous albums, the three studio albums and Live and all. I was totally obsessed about Kiss. Everything was about Kiss. I mean, it was like a clear before/after moment. Nothing else mattered because it was all about Kiss. But 6 months later, because they were just putting out so much albums back then, unlike now when it takes like 4 years for a band to release an album. But 6 months later, and I went and bought it, and I was like, and it sounded kind of thin, and not. I kind of subconsciously I just imagined that they would follow in the path of this big orchestrated cinematic album, and
The
this was like
theatrics were kind of going on that
basics,
one.
more rock and roll. And I thought, this is kind of boring. So I went back to the store and said, something's wrong with this album. It sounds like crap. Okay, well, I don't see anything wrong here. And I got a new copy of it. I know, of course, it sounded the same. But when you're 8 years old, you don't understand shit.
Exactly, yes. And I thought it was really cool. You actually credit the Poster Magazine founder, right? Hans Hatwig. Also, you actually have,
Absolutely, yeah.
because he brought a lot of the Kiss stuff to Sweden, right? He was a big
Yeah,
part
but
of it.
not only that, I would say that thanks to Hans Hartwig, this German guy who moved to Sweden because he saw some blonde girls or whatever, he was like fascinated with the country. And he was just a happy-go-lucky guy who started working in a printing, whatever it was, and got into the magazines and all and so forth. And he got the chance to do his own magazine, and he went completely against all the rules. You're not supposed to mix a lot of different colors. It should be tasteful and blah blah blah. All the format has to be in a certain way, but he's like, fuck that. He just mixed orange and pink and red on the cover, and everything was just about the posters. And what it actually said in the magazine was completely secondary. You had big ass posters that you could plaster on your kid, on your bedroom wall. And so I'd like cover my whole room in Kiss posters, even in the fucking ceiling and all. Just like me and pretty much everyone I knew. because we got obsessed with that. But Hans Hartwig, he was also responsible for, like I mentioned earlier, all those horror comics, like Werewolf at Night. It was all translated to Swedish. Not that I cared, because I couldn't read at that point when I was like a kid, and I just looked at the pictures. Wow, like cool werewolves and vampires and Frankenstein and all that. So, but that is what brought me into actually wanting to learn to read those little bubbles, But I couldn't care less, really, because I just looked at the pictures. I was like more about visually, and that is probably why I got so hooked into Kiss too. I mean, when people are arguing all the time in those groups on Facebook about this and that about concerning Kiss, and I said, yeah, but, and people who, oh, I don't fucking like that crappy band. Yeah, but you're doing it wrong. You shouldn't listen to Kiss. You should see them. You should listen with your eyes. Yeah.
Yeah, and you mentioned with Hans, I think that with his magazine, he even like broke things that I didn't see in the States often. Like he had the one Zappa Center folder was like a bunch of naked women and like Frank Zappa
Yeah.
in it, like the Gene Simmons blowing fire. I mean, a lot of Alice Cooper
Yeah, but
stuff. And I know,
he really broke. I think Kiss made it in Europe, in Sweden, first of all places, all because of him. Because, yeah, because they were big in America and not so much in Europe, I suppose. But then because of his magazine, they became huge in Sweden. And he was like really pushy. He could take ABBA. Oh, come on, dress. The kids want to see some boobs. Take off your clothes. Okay. I mean, he was like a pushy guy. Yeah.
Sex Pistols Suite was in that, and I know you were a big fan of Alice Cooper too, and Arthur
Absolutely.
Brown, right?
Yeah, but I got to say that I kind of fell into that because Alice Cooper, that was a few years earlier than Kiss. Like he had his peak in maybe with his Welcome to My Nightmare, when he sort of gave the rest of the band members the boot. But when it was a group, like in '73, I was like fucking 5. It was too early for me, I guess. But I was like totally fascinated when I visited friends who were older, and I saw all these posters with what do you say, this one-eyed giant with horns and all of that stuff. I was like so fascinated. But when I listened to it, I listened to $1 Billion Babies as a 6-year-old or whatever, but it didn't really catch my attention that much, really. But so I went back, like in the mid '80s, like in the second half of the '80s, I got totally fed up with contemporary music, because everything became so Hollywood glam rock hair metal bullshit, and I fucking hated it so much that by around like '86 or '87 or something, oh fuck, I've had it. I just give up. So, but I still wanted new music, so I craved new music. So I went backwards and discovered things that I missed when I was too young, like in the '70s, like early Uriah Heep and Alice Cooper and Arthur Brown and all of that. And
You have
from
Arthur Brown at
that
your
point
house?
on, I never looked back. So I never kept updated. I have, due to lack of interest, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You mentioned Arthur Brown. You actually had him at your home before.
Yeah, he came to my place to have dinner and stuff, and I invited him to the studio, and I never expected to see that guy. He's like a one-hit wonder the same year I was born, and he had Fire. It was a smash hit in 1968, and you never expected him to meet the guy or see him or anything like that. So it's kind of crazy, totally crazy. But he's such a down to earth guy, and he's still a phenomenal singer. Very crazy guy, I gotta say. The story is that I heard this must have been like in 2014, 15 or something like that, that this kind of close, what do you say, you need this small group when you need to be a member of that to be able to go to that club, because a permit with alcohol and all that. And I heard in the grapevine, sort of like Arthur Brown is going to play there. My God, he's coming. Not only is he coming to Sweden or to play a live show, but also to Gothenburg and just down the street, basically from where I live. And I signed up for that because I wanted to go see him, of course. But I went with my then girlfriend. She was like practicing boxing and all that, and we went to the gym and did that. And she hurt her arm, so I had to go to the hospital. And it was like when I was sitting there in the waiting room, it was like, what the fuck? It's Saturday. Wasn't I supposed to do something today? you know, oh my God, fuck! It was today, the Arthur Brown gig, and I thought I missed the lifetime opportunity to the one-time opportunity to see him in the flesh. But as it turns out, he was back like a year or two later, and then I went to see him. And by then, I mean, I had already recorded my version of Fire live during my live DVD and all that. And I showed it to him, and he totally loved it. And he invited me to hang out with this, some dancer from Hawkwind or something. It was like hanging backstage. So we became like, buddies pretty much, And I invited him to my home, and he was in my studio doing stuff. So that's kind of crazy. I got to say that to meet your heroes or idols, that's like a double-edged sword. You should always be very careful about that, because I've met some people like Joe DiMaio, for example, and it's like, what the fuck? He was like really rude and all that. And so you should think twice about that. But when you get to be friendly with Ross the Boss or Arthur Brown or people like that, and there's a mutual respect, and because we are both musicians and we're all the same kind of people and all that, I mean, that's the greatest feeling in the world. I gotta say, wow, I'm actually friends with a guy that I looked up to in my youth and my hero, basically. But you got to be careful. So when I had the opportunity to meet Paul Stanley, for example, I was like wondering, what the fuck am I possibly going to say to the guy? Oh, I'm a huge fan. You changed my life. Okay, I haven't heard that one before.
They heard that a million times. I know.
Yeah, exactly. Just that day. Yeah.
Exactly. No, definitely. And so when you started getting into like actually wanting to play music, so when you started playing drums, it was not because you just wanted to be a drummer. It was just kind of the first thing you chose. Was that kind of your?
It took quite a few years actually from when the thought came to my head that when I discovered Kiss, wow, I want to create a rock band when I grow up. My cat is meowing here all the time.
That's okay.
Off you go. It took actually a couple of years, I suppose, but because I'd never seen any musical instruments, and nobody knows how to play, and how do you start doing that? And so it wasn't until like 1980 or 79 maybe, where a lot of Swedish bands, rock bands, but they were singing in Swedish. So I thought to myself, okay, I don't know how to play, but here's the window of opportunity. I can start by writing the lyrics. So I started doing that like around like 1980 or something, and then I kind of forced some classmates, like, okay, you look good, you should be the singer, and you can play keyboard, and we sort of wanted to do it like the rest of those Swedish rock bands. So I formed my band called Gummiband, actually means rubber band, and I kind of forced some members to do that, and gradually I swapped the members to when I met new friends who could actually play, like Michael Moon, when I started in 7th grade in 81. And he was like a phenomenal guitar player. So I invited him to my band, and he later on played with King Diamond and so forth, And so, so that's how you got to start somewhere, right?
So is it true that you
and
always
I just happened to pick the drums. Sorry, yeah. I just happened to pick the drums based on my fascination with Peter Criss, of course, because of his huge drum kit and all.
Yeah,
but I soon realized that it's not the ideal instrument if you're like the band, like the driving force behind the band, because you cannot write songs, because it never crossed my mind to play covers or try to pick out other people's songs. We should write our own music, of course, but that is expecting a little bit much, I would say, if you can't fucking play. You should write your own music and stuff.
You think about it, like what Bon Scott and Iggy Pop, they started out as drummers, and then they took over the front roles eventually and stuff
Yeah,
too.
but
So
it's a kind of funny thing. Also, Nicky Anderson from Entombed. I mean, he started out like being a drummer of Entombed, and then he became, the frontman and guitar player of Helicopters. And there's a lot of people actually started out as drummers, but maybe you don't like to be in the background, whatever the fuck it is. Yeah. Yeah.
and you consider yourself, like I've heard you say once, that you consider yourself more of a '70s drummer than a heavy metal drummer. Is that still the case at this time period
Yeah,
in your life?
definitely. I would say my people ask me sometimes, who are your favorite drummers and influences and so on. It hasn't changed since I was maybe 16. Back then, when I was trying to learn to get my chops up there and stuff, I was listening to Mick Tucker of Sweet, uh, Ian Pace, of course, and Brand Downey from Thin Lizzy, and all of those guys, and trying to copy, like being a sponge, trying to emulate what they were doing as much as I could. And in a traditional sense, like they all came from Buddy Rich, I suppose, like who was the drummer superstar. And once you get it down, I mean, that was sort of my education, uh, where I actually learned my trade. And from there on, I just, yeah, created my own thing or come up with, as long as you understand the basics of music, then it's like the sky's the limit. You can do whatever you want with the technique that you have. I mean, there are no limitations, I would say, or you can just, if you mix different music styles. I mean, I was listening to the Police, for example, or anything, basically pop music, whatever. And then out of all those different influences, you create your own style. And there are no set rules. I mean, I've run into a lot of music friends that say, "Oh, okay, that's a weird beat," or what do you call that? I don't know, Kenneth. I don't know. I mean, there's no name. I mean, you can just play what suits the song, what brings out the best in the song. I mean, you still have, everything is mathematics, like divided into 2, 4, 6, 8, 12, 32, 64, and all that. As long as you got that down, and if you have that in your backbone, you can pretty much have the freedom to do whatever you want and accentuate, or whatever you hear in the music to make it groove or swing, or whatever you want to say. So I'm very much more like a 70s drummer, absolutely.
I once heard one thing I've heard you say that I thought was really interesting was you thought that when you play drums, if you didn't like the band, it was actually easier for you to play. To actually, you had more
And
fun when you were playing.
yeah, but let's say I was more careless about the song, because if I thought the song stank, I need to make it interesting somehow, to spice it up and at least amuse, at the very least, I amuse myself, and that was the case. I think I know what you're referring to. I was saying that about the second album of Memento Mori, for example, and I thought some of the songs was kind of boring, so I was like trying to spice it up as much as possible. And but I noticed with my own music, because I think, wow, this is a very well written song, good vocal line and melody and all that. And then I'm playing very fucking basic. You don't need to decorate it too much, because you don't want to fuck it up for the vocals and the composition in itself. Whereas if you don't give a shit, basically, I mean, you're just playing to have fun for yourself. Then it's, if you're an aspiring drummer, wow, that's interesting. He's just doing a drum solo in the background, but you wouldn't be allowed to do that in AC/DC, for example.
Yeah,
It doesn't fit in.
exactly. And you,
Yeah,
so, and I also, can you first tell us? I'll let you explain this. When you first met Mickey D, was that at the age of 13?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why when I first started playing, in seventh grade. Yeah, yeah. He was playing with a local band in the same area, like and they were rehearsing at our school auditorium. So I heard him practicing during the day. I could hear it like from a distance, like all this noise. So what's going on? Is there some construction going on or whatever? But I heard this noise, and I just followed it and opened the door, and there I could see like a big pearl uh, chrome kit, like Peter Criss, in real life. I never saw that, and a phenomenal drummer. And I was just stood there totally with open mouth, like my jaw, and just drooling. What the fuck is this? And that's the first time I met him, and he was like a real cool guy. And he was then 18, which is a huge difference when you're a kid. He had been playing for 13 years at that time, and I had just started. So he was light years ahead of me, of course, and it was really cool. So.
And he was a big mentor for you, I take it, at that young age?
Yeah, in so many ways, because I mean, you can see nowadays. I mean, he's going from one thing to another, like from Odre to Scorpions and all that. And he is, like I told him like a couple of months ago when we were hanging out at his house. And you're so non-Swedish, I said. And oh, what do you mean? I'm an immigrant or something? No, that's not what I'm saying. I see you don't have this kind of let's say we have something in Sweden called jantelaw, but that you shouldn't brag about yourself. You shouldn't think that you're something extra or something more than other people. And that pretty much affect all of the Swedes except maybe Yngwie Malmsteen and Mickey D. But he never denies himself anything. Exactly. He just wants it all, and for free. So he's not afraid to. I mean, if you want something, you better go grab it instead of being shy and this kind of played humble bullshit, And he's just up for grabs. I mean, you just go get something if you want it. You got to work hard to get it. And I pretty much learned a lot from that because he doesn't deny himself anything.
Yeah, definitely. And so this will all tie in. So you first became familiar with Fate in '82, right? Mercyful Fate. And was that from them? They were on that Metallic Storm compilation. They did Black Funeral in '82. Was that the one you heard them on first?
Yeah, that's the one. I think it's called. I don't know what it was called. Metal Massacre, I think it was called. I think it was Brian Slagle's label, Black Metal Blade, that released that. It had Abattoir bands like that, or Lizzie Borden, and all those bands. And all of the bands were American because it was an American released album, I think, on import or whatever. And this song, Black Funeral, with Mercyful Fate, I mean, there was no pictures or any information. This was, of course, decades before the internet. So you had no clue. I just assumed that they were American too, And I really, really loved that song Black Funeral with that crazy vocals of Hail Satan in falsetto and all that. So me and Charlie, he was by then a rhythm guitar player, and we were standing in the suburb and trying to pick out that Black Funeral song. And wow, it's really tricky, but. And that was cool. And fast forward 10 years, and then we're on tour with the original band. He and I did playing that same song.
That's Charlie D'Angelo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's kind of insane how things work out. Yeah. It was bound to happen. I mean, because we were both so fascinated by that music. It was really complex with all the time changes and so forth. And we, when I was like then 15 or something, I couldn't understand how they can even keep it apart. I mean, all those time changes and so forth. How can they remember all of it, But then you end up in the same band, that's cool.
Yeah, you actually, so you knew Pete Black, right? From, he played in a band out of Denmark called Geisha, was it called?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, but they were more, he was trying to get me to play with that band and to replace Tony Reno, who was the original drummer of Europe on the first two albums. Mm-hmm. And he was in that Danish band. But it wasn't my cup of tea because it was too LA-ish sounding, or like this hair metal thing, and I didn't like that glam style, so I kind of passed on that one. Yeah.
So, but you did keep in touch with him, and so I'll let you tell the story. So, Mickey D first asked you to take over his job with King.
Yeah, but many years ago, of course. But I remember. On Christmas Day, I mean, it's like a typical thing that you hang out after spending Christmas with your family and relatives and all that. Then you go out partying. And I met him at this bar, like rock bar, and this rock club, and we're hanging out. And he was just home from Los Angeles because King Diamond moved to Los Angeles in '87, and this was in Christmas Day '88, I think. And he said that, okay, I'm back home now, and I was studying up in north of Sweden, so I just got home as well, and we were hanging out partying. And he said that, yeah, I'm thinking about leaving King Diamond, and I think you should take my place there. I think you would be perfect for that. And but we were kind of drunk, so I figured that it's just like drunk talk, basically. And besides that, I always wanted to create my own band, and I had like those super ideas. But it's like very hard if you're unestablished. And what I was trying to do, like I mentioned before, I kind of despise this kind of hair metal bullshit thing. So, and I was what I wanted to do was the complete opposite, basically. And it's hard to find members to do that. So so I kind of let that slide. But like 4 months later, Pete Black was sending me postcards from their tour and so forth. And he kept an eye on me because he planned to do his own band, I suppose. And he wanted me as a drummer. But then he called me after I sort of quit that school and was back home in Gothenburg. And he called me and said, "Are you home? Because I'm flying home from Los Angeles tomorrow, and I have something I want to talk to you about." So we got back home and we got together in his apartment and stuff, and he started nagging about like they've been going through like 30, 40 guys that they tried out for King Diamond, new drummers to replace Mickey D, and it didn't really pan out any good. He said so. He said, "Okay, I want you in my band though that I plan to start down the road, but maybe you could get some routine and experience, and if you're up for a job with King Diamond." Absolutely. I mean, since I turned it down the first time, and I figured I loved Mercyful Fate and King Diamond and stuff. So I figured that this is meant to happen. I cannot turn this down, and I have nothing better to do because for me to get my own members to create a band from nothing, basically being completely unknown, it this would really up my game by 10,000%. If I'm a drummer of King Diamond.
And you were
So
what, 20 years old
I
about
just
that time?
went with that, and he gave me a cassette with 3 or 4 songs, and I learned them over a day or two, and then we met in my rehearsal room, and we ran through the songs, and then he just called up King and said, "You can stop looking. I have the perfect guy for a job."
And were the songs you had to learn was Welcome Home, Acquisition Share, and Family Ghost?
You certainly have done your homework.
Without the books, too, without the books, I gotta say.
Yeah, but those were the songs. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. And so at that time you were about 20 years old, and you were also at that time you had been through a shitload of jobs, right? You were dealing with local musicians, and you had been through like what, 12 jobs or some shit like that?
Yeah, but I mean, what can you do? I mean, when you're a kid, I mean, you're supposed to have a day job, and I went to painting school. I had like the worst grades ever in when I went to school because I couldn't motivate myself. I was like the worst student ever. I didn't give a shit. I just wanted to. I was like so much into heavy music and playing music, and that's really all I wanted to do. So I didn't really think. I was just completely disinterested. But I had like the worst grades. Like we had like this system of 1 to 5, 1 being the lowest, of course, and I had like 1 in all the classes, history, geographics, English, whatever, except for painting. You know, like art school, where I had like because I had a natural thing for that. So I was like really good with that. So I get the best grades at that. So we had this person in school who said, "Okay, we look at your grades here. It stinks completely. You can never get a job in your life. You're not going to be homeless and shit. But because you have the top grades in art school, you should go to painting school." That was the only option. But then we're not talking about aesthetics like drawing or it's just like painting walls. So it was, so I was in school with that for 2 years, and then I got fired after 10 weeks after that. And I went through 11 more jobs during the next 2 years, like being watching kids or like moving furniture and working sweeping floors at a mental hospital, all kinds of shit. And I pretty much got fired from all of them because I couldn't motivate myself. So I figured I can't fucking do this crap. I need to focus on music because otherwise I might as well die right away, because this just kills me basically.
Yeah, and so you basically, what, a few months later, you met up with. So what was it? You met up with Pete and Hal at the airport. Was it Denmark? And you can explain. I know it was
Yeah,
a crazy
that's
trip.
right. Yeah, I met up with me and Pete flew to Copenhagen, Denmark, and then we're going to be on the flight to Los Angeles. But we have met up with Hal Patino there. Yeah.
You guys go and had a 10-hour layover and got pretty much wasted. And
Yeah, there was like a delay of 9 hours, I think, if I remember correctly. And we got tickets for food and shit like that. So we started drinking and maybe they did some other stuff too. I don't know, but we were completely fucked up. So by the time, those 9 hours had passed, had passed out pretty much. So they kept calling from the loudspeaker system, like calling out our names. Absolute last call for Los Angeles, Mr. Pete Black, and blah blah blah. And we woke up. Where the fuck is it? We were at the wrong, area in the terminal, and we couldn't do. So we just ran there, and he couldn't find the boarding passes, and he was like really obnoxious. Fuck TWA, and he couldn't find his passports, and the rest of the passengers, they, on top of those 9 hours, they still had to wait for an hour extra for us to board. And we got in there and made such a mess, like in the compartment where you keep your luggage and all that. We just opened up. There were no place for our bags and stuff. So Pete just took their stuff and tossed it away and threw it in the lap of guy sitting, and we were smoking and dropped like beer cans, and they were just splashing the whole place, and they behaved like idiots. And I was like, this was my first, let's say, my maiden voyage. Like, what the fuck? Do you really have to behave like idiots like that? But they were big rock stars, so and it didn't take long, and I found my seat and I sat down and just observed the whole thing, and I saw that a flight attendant like picking up the phone and called. The doors go open and on comes the police and arrest us.
now you'd be on TMZ on one of those cell phone videos.
Yeah, well, it's insane. And we got thrown off the flight, and all of the rest of the passengers was like applauding. Woo! Fuck off!
Those guys.
Yeah, but that was my introduction into the crazy world of rock music, I guess. Yeah.
So you were flying out to LA. Now you also had weren't you also like offered a job dancing with a Christian dance band or something?
Yeah, but when I quit that school, it was some sort of, it's called folk high school, I guess, and where it was music, but also the rest of the classes, and it took me like 2-3 weeks tops before I realized I don't want to learn to read music, and I thought I was going to play drums, but they wanted me to play marimba and read music and play a triangle and stuff like that in small groups like that. And I was like, what the fuck is this? I want to play double kicks and breathe fire. I don't want to be in a symphony orchestra or anything. So it didn't pan out so well, and I'm not so good with school or doing what people tell me to do, basically. So
it worked out for you now.
So it didn't work out at all. But when I got home after this, because I was kicked out of that school after a year, I was allowed to stay because I already got the loans to pay for the whole year and all that. So, and I just figured I will never go back to work in the industry or, mopping floors at a mental hospital or anything like that. I just want to play music. So I kind of looked in the magazine, trying to get a job, and there was this Christian dance band who looked for a drummer, and all they asked for was like, can you play a shuffle in 143 BPM or whatever it was? I don't know. I wasn't so much up for that. So like just a couple of days after that, I got the gig with King Diamond. So when they called me back, I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I got this other job with this Danish Satanist." And I think I'm going to go with that.
And when you got to LA, you didn't know too much. Was your English that great when you first got to the States?
Absolutely not. I never, like I said, I was like a disaster in school, and it never really crossed my mind that I should. I figured I'm a drummer. I don't need to, even though I wrote lyrics, I suppose, but I did. But strangely enough, I it never crossed my mind. I was never exposed to it, basically, to speak English. So they just threw me into this lion pit or whatever you say, yeah, and and. And the other guys, I mean, they had far more experience. I mean, had been out touring and been living in Los Angeles for years and so forth and so forth. And they have adopted really well, of course, to that kind of the whole thing and learning the language and everything. So I felt very, awkward at times when I couldn't speak basically.
And you had what? So you had moved there. You were just turning 21 when you got to LA.
Yeah, I turned 21 the same week we flew over there. So it was lucky because otherwise I wouldn't be able to get into the Rainbow Bar and Grill, for example, or all those places because you need to be 21 in America. So yeah,
So you get there, you audition for King. I think you get the job after 2 tracks.
yeah,
How
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
how was it with like when you first met King? What was your impression like? Because obviously, I know he's one of the nicest guys I hear. Of course, when you see him
Yeah,
on
but I
TV,
gotta say,
myself as a
all of
kid.
this, I mean, this is what I'm talking about in my book, and I'm explaining everything in great detail. So, pretty much everything. I mean, you said that you haven't read the book, but still, you have a lot of information and certainly have done your homework. So, so you know it all. But, yeah, so I didn't know what to expect from King. I mean, I've seen the pictures of him and being a Satanist, which was kind of unusual, to say the least, back then. But I didn't know what to expect. But when I came to their apartment, where there was like this complex with apartments where pretty much all the guys were living in at the time, even though the crew members and so forth, and you know. I didn't know what to expect, but he was sitting there with his baseball cap on and playing some football or soccer computer game or underneath Daneman, sort of the Danish flag up on the wall, put in a way so it's like an inverted cross, of course. So yeah, but chain smoking, basically. Yeah, but he was like the most nicest, most down to earth, humble guy ever. But my Danish, I couldn't understand Danish so much. So it was like that was a really strange thing. I mean, because the other Swedes in the band, they had been living in Copenhagen, playing with him, and maybe they had a talent for picking up the language or so. But I could basically not understand what he was saying, so it was a little bit tricky, I guess. Yeah.
Now was his thing a lot like he wanted to, we had the back then it was like Ozzy Osbourne, you had guys like that, but he wanted to be a little more taken seriously for that, with the whole Satanism thing, and because King Diamond had a kind of that image that was, I mean, me and Ed saw. I remember we talked about Geraldo when he was on those specials. You would see him on there, and he seemed very well spoken, but as a kid, you were like, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah, but I don't know. I probably shouldn't say too much about that. But I mean, let me put it this way: that the Christian people that I've experienced, like priest and so forth, I would trust King Diamond any day. I mean, he's an honest, reliable, cool guy, and he wouldn't rip you off. So I trust him way more. And it's not like he's like I came to that apartment. It wasn't like he was sitting in a room with
Skulls
a
and
big
blood.
pentagram drawn on the floor and drinking baby's blood or
Yeah.
doing praying to Satan. It's not like that at all. It's more of his, let's say, Anton LaVey satanic philosophy, where you shouldn't turn the other cheek and all that. I mean, you are allowed to feel anger towards someone who has done something to you, like raping your daughter or something, and you should be able to feel hatred towards that. I'm not so. I don't have an awful lot of insight information on that thing, but I think he's like a very, very good guy in all aspects and trustworthy and cool guy, very very much so, and nothing weird that going on there. I would say, yeah.
It's awesome.
I would say in general in the kind of music we're talking about here. I guess before him, you had Alice Cooper and Ozzy Osbourne and a few more bands, I suppose, with sort of occult lyrics and that fascination for the dark side or the forbidden thing. And I think that King wanted to be taken more seriously because I just listened to Ozzy Osbourne, I Am Ozzy, listen to that book, and Black Sabbath had nothing to do with that. They played their music and their record company. They put out the album and did the album cover with an inverted cross on
We're
the
called Earth at
gatefold and all
first.
that.
I mean,
So they had no say in that. It was more like that, like the record company saw a possibility. Well, okay, Black Sabbath. Okay, we're gonna sell it or market this like a satanic band to stir up some yeah, it's good promotion, I suppose, and get interest drawn to that band. But in King's case, I would say that he was really fascinated by all of that, and so I guess he took on and said, "Yeah, I'm a full-blown Satanist," and that's basically it. Because I mean, he's no different than any other person I met who's like a just normal guy, basically.
yeah. So I mean, and for you, it had to be crazy because you get the job, you just turned 21, and you guys go right on the conspiracy tour, right? The 89-90 tour, pretty much. What did you guys shot the video for Sleepless Nights first?
Yeah, but that's what we did. That's what we did during that 2 week period or whatever. When I first flew over and we did the audition, playing those two songs or whatever, and went out partying and planning stuff, and and then we shoot the video like a couple of days after that. Yeah, for Sleepless Night. I mean, it was really perfect because it was in a typical Hollywood scenario, let's say, and all the props and all that. It looked like a typical Hammer horror movie horror thing, and the whole setting and everything. So it was really amazing, I gotta say.
And you must have been thrilled being in that band at first because I know you're like a Cooper fan, a Kiss, Death, SS. I mean, you got that
Yeah.
the whole thing going on, right? It had to be very theatrical for you and like
Yeah, it was actually completely perfect. I mean, I was obsessed with Welcome to My Nightmare when I discovered that with Alice Cooper, and I watched that fucking VHS, that videotape over and over. I wore it out basically because I was like so fascinated with that stage show, and to go out with King Diamond during that period with a House of Amon and a lot of actors on stage and wheelchairs and grandma, blah blah blah, all that. I mean, yeah, it was just perfect. I mean, it was a dream come true, even though that's what I wanted to do myself. But okay, I can be the drummer in such a scenario. That was perfect. When I later on formed my own band, Notre Dame, which was kind of a very, let's say, theatrical horror based dark thing, and I mean, I just heard one or two voices initially that said, "Oh, okay, it's a rip off of King Diamond," but it's not at all. It's just because we come from the same place. Uh, I know for a fact that King Diamond, being 12 years older than me, he went to see Welcome to My Nightmare in 1975 in Copenhagen, and he also told me about we were sitting up all night and talking about he went to small clubs and to see Nazareth in the early years. And hold on a second.
oh, no problem.
And Uriah Heep, all of the stuff that I was too young to experience, and we had the same influences. So it just came out very natural, I would say.
Was the Sunset Strip kind of overwhelming to you at first? Because I mean, I've been there. I was there probably mid '90s, but not as early as you were there. It had to be like, I mean, from what I've heard, it
Yeah,
seemed
but,
pretty
I
crazy
mean,
back then.
it was hard to grasp because everything happened so just from overnight sensation or whatever you want to call it. I mean, I came from nothing, just being dropped into in Hollywood or Los Angeles, and okay, now you have like a 3.5 month headlining tour of America. I never been to America before that, and I mean, it was hard to imagine even. So after a couple of weeks, I was sitting by the pool by myself and sort of reflecting over things, and I got this stack of glossy promo pictures from that was taken during the video shoot, and it said, Pete Black, Snowy Shaw, King Diamond, Antler, or Cal Patino underneath, on the picture. It's like, oh shit, I made it, Then I was like on my own and had a chance to reflect on everything that happened. It was like I was bombarded with impressions and all that. Like just walking up the Sunset Strip in the 80s, like it was completely crazy. From after we went out to Rainbow to party, after we had this tryout or audition, and we just parked the car and walked up the Sunset Strip, and I got like 3-4 offers. Hey man, you want to be the singer in a new band? It's the next big thing. And they look like Madame X or something, like big hairs and shit. And you just waded basically through the audience, because it was like I never seen that much people all glammed up, and it's like, what is this place, And this, although I fucking hated that scene, it was good to experience it by yourself firsthand and to see it when it actually happened. And eventually, after the third time, people asked me to be their singer in the new band or something. I said, no, I'm despite my poor English, or my completely fucked up English. I said, no, I'm not a singer. I'm a drummer in King Diamond. And I was like, wow. The moment I said that, it felt like so good.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and that first tour, that was, so you did that tour. You guys did what, 89, 90, and you guys. So what was the most? I know you guys played a shitload of shows, but what was like? I know like what was the thing, like the show for you that you really like? Because now before you joined with King, you weren't playing much shows in between that time period.
No, I mean, I haven't. I mean, not since I was like 13, 14 years old, when you played like local shows with your band, or I was like pretty much playing with people who are a lot older than me, but we were basically just fucking around in the rehearsal room. Gigs were few and far between, I would say, and so I hadn't played any shows, so I didn't have any experience really. So my first show was in San Francisco. I mean, it was supposed to be in Los Angeles or Anaheim, probably, but because of the earthquake at that point, we had to cancel that show and go to San Francisco. And it was still aftershakes and all of that, but I wasn't so concerned about that, because then I got kind of nervous about the whole thing, like, wow, this is so big. Am I going to pull this off? Especially because in San Francisco, Bay Area is Oakland, actually. But there were a lot of guests, and who was this young blonde guy who replaced the irreplaceable Mickey D, I would say, because 35, 40 people failed at that, even though they are semi-professionals from all over the world and were flown in for that. But and then you had like, the guys from Metallica, of course. Like you had James Hetfield standing on the side of the stage, and Testament, and the whole Bay Area thrash, like Megadeth and whatever, all of those guys, and I have all those eyes on me on top of playing that show, and you hear that ominous intro of The Omen, starting out, and I'm standing in the wings of the House of Amon. Shit, am I going to pull this off? Like starting to get nervous there, And there wasn't so much pep talk, really, and people, they have a lot of routine, and I was like completely green. The rookie had no fucking clue, and I was going to start out like doing the fill with Welcome Home and all that. Yeah, but so I stood there and I sort of braced myself and thought about my totem animal, Joe DiMaio. What would he do? And I said,
a loincloth.
yeah, fuck the world, I'm going to pull this off. Or am I just a little pussy from Gothenburg, But it went well, Yeah, but the first, I got to say, to answer your question, then we toured, we went to Denver, and I don't remember all the places, but we went all over. And then it was Halloween in New York City. And New York City, to me, has always been like that, the epicenter of, that is America to me. Like Kiss is from New York, and Manowar, upstate New York, and Spider-Man and everything. Wow, this is the coolest place ever. And you could see all this that I didn't know then, but temporarily set up haunted houses because it was Halloween. We didn't have Halloween in Sweden at that point. We had All Hallows Eve that some people celebrated by lighting candles at their graves for their dead relatives or something like that. But we didn't do that in my family, or most people didn't. So I had no clue what it was, but people were dressed up like witches and skeletons and fucking crap like that. And I thought, what is going on here? Is that how the fans invite, sort of celebrate the coming of King Diamond to town? I mean, it was insane.
The show you're talking about was actually the '89 show at the Ritz, right? There was a costume party, and you guys listen to this lineup, Ed. It was King Diamond, Sepultura, Sacred Reich, and Toxic. And I think tickets were like $15.
If you say so, I the only thing I know, I didn't know Sepultura was there, but I had no clue really. But I know
$15 for
Toxic.
tickets.
They were touring with us in the East Coast, at least, So that I know.
And so that was New York City, which back then, I mean, I'm sure that was the Ritz is like one of those places that are, for us, so me and Ed are both from New Jersey originally. So, we
Okay.
kind of, it's like one of those places that as a kid, you always
Yeah,
hear
but it's a
about.
legendary place. But I had no fucking background, I had no clue really. But I mean, that was Studio 54, right? Like the disco era, and it was
Yeah.
also where Ozzy Osbourne recorded "Speak of the Devil" and shit like that. I think so.
Yeah, because
So
you
it's a
guys did,
legendary place.
I think you guys played L'Amour's that same year too,
Yeah,
but
we
you
did,
guys,
but
yeah,
later on, I think.
yeah.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
guys did 6 weeks on that. Wait, actually, you played. Now, what tour was it? You played injured for like 6 weeks, didn't you, with a broken foot or some shit like that?
Yeah, but after the whole U.S. tour, we flew back a few days before Christmas to Scandinavia, and then we started a European tour in sometime in January, I think. And 6 weeks down the road, I broke my foot or strangled my wrist or whatever. So I had like plastered all the way up to my thigh, and this happened just before a sold out show in, I think, Barcelona or Madrid. I can't remember, but in Spain at least. And it was like a huge arena of 8,000 people, I think. And this just happened before an hour or 2 hours before we were supposed to go on. And so they got really upset about that. What the fuck are we going to do now? What are we going to do? I mean, you can't play the double kicks. I mean, if you have one, you're walking with crutches and all that. And how are you going to do this? Can we get Mickey D here? No, he's in Los Angeles because he was still living there at that point. Now it's going to take forever. And what can we do? And I said, I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose, obviously. But after such a long time knowing the songs in and out, basically, like the back of my hand, and I said, I can probably do it anyway because I'm right-footed and right-handed. So, and this was my left foot. So I said, I can probably do it anyway, And okay, what option do we have? Let's go for it. And my drum tech helped me up on stage, like to climb up on stage, and I just went for it. And when it was like double kicks, I was using the floor tom with my left hand instead. Yeah. So it was, you have to learn to be flexible in this business. It's like, oh, I have a sore throat. Can we cancel? No, you can't do that. The only acceptable deviance is like if you're dead, basically. So yeah.
And you talk about, like, actually a story that I always wanted to ask you about was, so King lost his voice on one of the Europe shows, and you were actually like kind of helping do some vocals through the snares mics. Is this a true story?
Yeah, but King don't want anyone else to sing. Of course, that takes the sort of shine away from him. But I was like screaming in the snare or something like that. He didn't ask for that, but I was just trying to help out a little bit.
So you do that. When did you guys start working on the material for the Eye?
It's such a long time ago. I don't remember really, but after that tour ended in spring somehow on a European tour, the plan was to make the next album, and it's going to be called The Eye. And I got like those cassettes sent to me from King, and me and Andy worked on some stuff. I had some parts riffs and stuff, and we worked on that in my rehearsal room, and I started to learn the songs with King's songs, and it was supposed to be recorded sometime during early summer or whatever. I don't remember really, but so that's what we did. Yeah.
Was that now with King? Did you know, like, would he tell you exactly where the vocals were going to go, or was it like, how was it the writing process with him?
I would say that in I don't remember really, but it might be that there were actually vocals or demo vocals on his demos. But in a lot of other cases, when he writes songs, it's just the music, and he has some sort of drum machine or and keyboards and guitars and stuff, and then you have to learn that. And I remember when working with Mercyful Fate a couple of years later, and based on what I've heard on the demos, I come up with my parts and trying to make the best of it or decorate it as much as I could. And he would say, no, that sort of clashes. If you're playing it like that, it's going to clash with my vocals. Yeah, but how is the vocals? I won't tell you. Okay, so end of discussion, basically. So,
That had to be
but
difficult.
that way he could have it his way, of course. So yeah.
Yeah. So and then what? Hal and Pete, they left right after the Eye.
Yeah, we did only one show because I think King decided, together with the manager Ole Bang, that they're gonna renew the contract with Roadrunner that they've been with for like, I don't know, 6 years or something, and or renegotiate it or whatever. But they decided to terminate the deal and go look for a major deal with, like, I don't know what, Universal or something like that. And so after that one open air show that we did in Copenhagen, everything just got put on the back burner or just fell apart, basically. Because at that time, Hal Patino, the nicest guy in the world, but he's quite, what do you say, good follower. Pete Black, he got, it was a mutual agreement, I suppose, because he left or he got kicked out. He was asked to leave. I don't know how it turned out, but so we were two guys short at that point, and so me and Andy got the job to look for a new bass player and a new guitar player to replace Pete and Hal, whereas Ole and King himself is gonna negotiate deals and so forth with the record companies, but I guess they were, what would you say? I mean, it took a whole lot longer than they expected. It was hard to sell King Diamond to a major label who have Bon Jovi, which is more commercial, I suppose. I don't know, but so it took an awful lot of time. So eventually, I got tapes with the Spider's Lullaby, and we were supposed to do that with a new lineup, and the new lineup included Mike Weed on guitar and Charlie D'Angelo, my old best friend, and that I told, okay, you have the chance of a lifetime here. Say you can't live up to all those super fast, guitar slingers. So we're looking for a bass player. So say that you can claim that you play bass instead, and then you got the job.
Yeah, I heard that you had him switch over to bass. That's awesome.
Yeah. Because what we did, King put me and Andy in charge of finding new members. So we put out like ads all over Scandinavia, and I had it when I was still living with my mom at that point. I put on the door SOS Management, and I got like sacks of applicants who wanted to be the new bass player or guitar player. And but I saw this opportunity for Charlie then that, okay, you can never live up to match Andy or any of the other, what do you say, Yngwie Malmsteen wannabes or whatever, So yeah, but it's better that you claim to be a bass player. And I took all the applicants from bass players and pretty much tossed them away. So to to don't have any
Shirley, the heads up.
any rivalry there. So yeah, but that turned out good because he's a super musician and extremely have it all natural, and he's like a really great bass player, I gotta say. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen him
So,
with
but
like
anyway, we were supposed to do the Spider's Lullaby, but I guess he didn't get signed. It wasn't quite as easy as I might have expected, really. So it took a whole lot longer, and nothing really happened. And that is also why me and Mike started Memento Mori, and Andy's going to do his solo album, and was working with that. And he wanted me to play the drums and Charlie to play the bass, and I should write the lyrics and so forth. Yeah, but it was a couple of years when nothing really happened there, and I was like working with my own band and shit. So yeah, that's another story, I guess. Yeah.
And then King got a hold of you. You guys were getting he was getting offers for Merciful Fate at that time period, right? When you guys had that time off.
Yeah, I remember him calling me. I don't remember if it was early in '92 or something like that, and he said, "Okay, we're still looking for deals for King Diamond, but we got this offer to reunite Mercyful Fate," and he asked me if I wanted to do that because it's going to be the original lineup with the exception of me because they didn't want to work with Kim Russ, I suppose. And but I was still, in some sense, part of the family, so I said, of course, I've been a huge fan always. So I accepted that, but I don't know, nothing really happened there either. So then I heard that they got a Danish drummer because at that point King had moved back to Copenhagen, and it was more convenient to work with Hank closely in Copenhagen, and it was easier to get a local guy to play the drums. But as it turns out, when he did the first in the Shadows album in Dallas, when they were in the studio, they just noticed that things didn't really work or gel with this guy. So they gave me a second call and, "Do you want to be in the band?" And I said, "Yeah, but then I want to record the drums. It's only going to take me a couple of days, like 3-4 days or something." I said, "Yeah, but we have no budget left for that because it's been taking a lot of time to track the drums, and now Hank is doing all the rhythm guitars and stuff. So you just have to take our word for it. That is really good drumming and all that." So I just appear in the fucking picture. you know,
Yeah, you were in that. You're actually in the photos for the album, right?
Mm.
The-
So that was
were you satisfied with the drums? When you go back and listen to the drums now, do you wish you would have played them on that record? Well, I know you don't
Yeah,
go back and listen too much. Like I think you only listened to the Eye like one time I heard or something like that. But I mean,
yeah, but I don't normally go back and listen to stuff, but I think I would have put my touch to it and made a much better job, I would say. And it wouldn't be that tough or hard to do that. But I guess it's okay. But the whole thing was kind of weird because I just took the train down to Copenhagen and met the guys in the took the cab to the photo studio. I was like shaking hands, and we took 2 snapshots. Tick tick. Okay, that's it. And then we went out for dinner, and then I was like in Mercyful Fate on the album, which I didn't play a fucking thing on. And,
how long was it till Timmy left when you got back? So you guys had what? It was
I
Timmy.
was aware of that. We were rehearsing in Copenhagen before we're going to play a couple of festival shows. We were invited by Metallica, who always been huge Metallica Mercyful Fate fans. And so we open up for them at a huge outdoor arena in Copenhagen. And then we play, half an hour or something like that. And the day after that, we flew to headline, what's it called? Yeah, in Holland, a big festival, Dynamo Festival. Yeah, and it was also MTV was filming that and everything. So, but after that, I didn't know about this. Then, because they wanted as many original members, of course, as possible. But then they said that when was this? Like '93, I guess, and spring '93. And then they said, okay, Tim is leaving now, and he's going to be replaced by this guy from Chicago, the bass player from Trouble, I think. Yeah. And I kind of objected to that, and I said, "Wow, what the fuck? Yeah, it should be Charlie. He's been waiting in the wings the whole time, you know." And and they saw that okay, I could have my best friend in the band and all that. And since I kind of you what can you say? Yeah, I really said. I mean, I would love to have Charlie in the band. He's worth it, you know. So that's how he got in the band. After only 2 shows with Timmy. Yeah.
And you guys did that. And then you guys did that. You did do the Time album, right? Which I think is actually a killer record. And that's kind of when everything changed, right? With the, I guess there was a whole change in the lineups they wanted between the King Diamond and Merciful Fate camps.
Uh, yeah, but the thing is that, and I can totally understand that, of course, because like I said, we had in the new lineup of King Diamond, we had apart from King himself and Andy, we had me, Mike Weed, and Charlie D'Angelo. And then I brought Charlie D'Angelo into Merciful Fate. And then we recorded the Time album. By that time, King had also signed for King Diamond, the band, with Metal Blade, which was the home of Merciful Fate. And we were supposed to record Spider's Lullaby in the same studio like a couple of weeks later also only. And with the same engineer, sort of producer, same label, and pretty much the same lineup for both Merciful Fate and King. The only difference would be the 2 guitar players. So he after I was done with the drums, and then King called for a meeting with me and Charlie and said, "Okay, listen, we had a request from Brian Slagle. He said there are too many similarities between the 2 bands, and since you're now already done the Merciful Fate album, I guess you're no longer in King Diamond. I'm going to replace all of you guys with an American band." That makes sense, I said. But what about Mike Weed? Why do you kick him out? He's not in Merciful Fate, which he wasn't at that point. Yeah, but anyway, so he went with this American band with the acceptance of Andy and himself. So yeah, that's how it happened, pretty much.
And you had a real, which I thought was really crazy. I mean, so you played, which I kind of understand in a way. You played a show right in front of 70,000 people, and that this was your last gig with Merciful Fate. It was '94. It was in, what was the name of the festival? I don't want to say it wrong. Roskilde Festival, and that was like
Yeah,
Aerosmith, Paradise Lost, Radiohead, just a shitload of bands. And
exactly. Yeah.
and it didn't have the effect you thought it would on you.
Yeah, but I mean, I've had that kind of experience a lot in my life in recent years, and especially when writing my book, going through different things, you realize that the chase is better than the catch. You have like your childhood dream of realizing certain things, and you set up the goal and look up that mountain. Wow! Once I reach that point, I'm gonna feel euphoric and completely fulfilled or in touch with God or whatever. You expect something extraordinary to happen. But when you get to that point and it feels like, okay, another day at work, pretty much, then that sort of life goal or bucket list thing that you had on your list, uh, turns out that once you realize that, it's just that in my case, it felt like at that point, playing in front of, I think it was like, how much is it, like 70,000 people or something, I don't know, but and we were headlining. That would be the pinnacle of your career, like headlining with this band that most people would kill to be in my position, and after the show, I mean, nothing really happened. I just felt this void or emptiness in my stomach. I mean, I wasn't so excited or euphoric as I expected, and I just thought to myself, okay, I just brushed it off and figured that, I didn't have much sleep, or I'm a little bit cranky or pissed off or whatever for some reason, I don't know. But I couldn't shake it off, so nothing really happened. Then we went back home and continued to work on the Ill Will album that we did, and then I was like, really in my right element to write and record and all that. So when Hank called me like in August or something, okay, we're getting ready now to go on the European tour, and I said, fuck, I haven't given it any thought during the summer, basically after Roskilde Festival. So I just figure I can't do this. If I can't contribute or in any way, I'm not involved in any decision making at all. I'm just a hired drummer basically, and I'm not allowed to write songs or anything like that. I felt like this is not for me, and I can't fucking do this. So I called him back later on that evening after I spent a couple of hours thinking about this. Like, okay, I can't do this anymore. So I quit. Yeah, that's what I did.
Contribution was a big thing for you, right? Because I think in that band it was King, Hank, and Denner that were pretty much handling the writing.
Yeah, but what I didn't know is that for the Time album, when we're going to make that, I came with a couple of songs that I wrote and showed it to them or sent them the demo or whatever, and they just bluntly ignored me, or started talking about something else or walked out or something like that, and they didn't want to confront me about that. And maybe I was like young and naive because I thought, wow, I'm a full member of this band. We're all equals and we can all contribute. That's what I figured. But turns out I was wrongly informed, because that's not the way it works. What I didn't know is that they had some sort of agreement that Hank writes 40% of the music, and King writes also 40%, and the remaining 20% is written by Michael Denner, and then King writes all of the lyrics. And that was some sort of agreement when it comes to the writing credits and so forth that they came up with in 1980 when I was like in fifth grade. I had no clue about that. But to me, I mean, like you asked me about my background, how I started in the band. I just happened to pick the drums, and later learned that it wasn't optimal if you wanted to write songs and so forth. So to me, I always wanted to see this as a vehicle of expressing my creativity. That's basically what I wanted most of all. Didn't really care what instrument I played that much. So if I have no platform to express my creativity at all, I mean, I'm just as a hired gun. It doesn't work for me. I mean, I've tried that many times, and that's also why I turned down offers like from Saxon or Yngwie Malmsteen or Manowar and all that. What can I possibly contribute with? I mean, it's not like I can go to Biff Byford and say, "Hey, Biff, I wrote some new songs for this new album." Shut the fuck up. We started in 75 when you were still in diapers, and we just want you to keep the time in the background and play drums. That works for 99% of all drummers, but I am not like them. To me, it doesn't work.
Did King call you at all and try to say, "Hey, man, don't leave"? This is a question I wonder as a fan.
No, but Hank called, and he also called Charlie to try to talk talk some sense into me. But no, I'm done with this. Yeah.
It's funny because it all goes back to Kiss, right? Because I think the first solo where you did everything on a record, where you played all the instruments, was The Oath when you did that 1996 tribute to Kiss, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And did that start you kind of like? Cause I know, obviously you go to Notre Dame, which was like 96, 97. Is that what basically started you to do that band? And you first, did you tend to be the singer of that band?
I got to say that after Ill Will, we started that thing, and I really had so much invested in that. I quit Memento Mori, I quit my own band that I had, and I also quit Mercyful Fate to put all of my focus on this Ill Will thing, which was kind of, in a way, futuristic music, and then something I would say unique in its approach and all that, and I invested so much in that and had great beliefs in that and expectations. But as it turns out, I mean, once we were done with the album, like in 94 or something like that, 94, 95, we were shopping that around, and we didn't have any managers. We didn't have anything, basically. And so I took upon myself to send out cassettes to all the labels, given that I didn't have a fucking clue or contacts really, basically. But so we didn't get signed to any label because people, based on the lineup, like Andy from King Diamond, me from King Diamond, and Mercyful Fate, Charlie from Mercyful Fate, they expected it to sound like that, and they said, "Yeah, but this sounds like nothing like King Diamond." Yeah, but that's the whole point. Why would you start a new band if it's just like the same thing? That is, no, there's no point really. So this was like, let's say, pre-Rammstein, pre-Marilyn Manson, a lot of things. I had like this vision of a complete new, cool, super cool thing. But I guess the world wasn't ready for that kind of music. They didn't understand it, basically. So it was really frustrating. So after, working with that for a couple of years, we just had to put it on hold, like in '96 or something. And then I joined a lot of other bands as a kind of passive drummer. I was just like sitting in the back seat, not being the driving force like I tend to be, because I'm not so much of a follower. I'm more of a leader, I suppose. So I was like just being passive in recording possibly like 3 albums and being involved in 5-6 bands, and nothing led to album releases or any tours or gigs or anything like that, because you need to have a strong driving force, like a entrepreneurship and all that. And they were kind of sloppy guys. And I reached a point like in '97 or whatever the fuck it was, like, okay, this doesn't lead anywhere. You're just passive dumbasses, fucking weed heads or whatever you want to say. I mean, no structure, no drive. So like, fuck you all. Now I'm doing everything myself. And then I formed Notre Dame, and I play all of it. But I still wanted a band, because I mean, from my childhood, wow, I want to have my own Kiss band. So I invented a band. I came up with like names for those guys. And I just made everything up.
What was the last names you had for those guys? It was like
Jean-Pierre Desade, and Vampirella, which I stole from the comic book. That was, I mean, I had no clue pre-internet that it was still around in America, because it was only in Sweden around like 74, 75, like this gorgeous vampiric chick, and like a,
we know Vampirella, yes,
like a vampiric porn star, a bimbo, yeah. So I was like, wow, I just basically stole that whole character and had in my band, and so it was like a one-man band, I would say, but I used names and took pictures, and it was just a couple of friends who portrayed those guys. Like, okay, you're gonna be Mannequin Desade, and you are Vampirella. Here's your clothes. Look sexy,
Well, you guys did 3 full lengths, a split, an EP, a demo, I think some live stuff too. But I'm going to actually play one of the songs now. Can you? I don't want to say this wrong, because I've heard you say it before, and I don't think I pronounce it right. The name of the first volume 1 was Le Théâtre des Vampires. How do you pronounce that? I've heard you pronounce it different than what
I don't know. I don't speak French. Le Théâtre des Vampires.
There you go. So we're actually going to play a song off. We're actually going to play the title track from that record, from the 1999 record, and we'll be right back with Snowy after this on the Tampa Morgue.
Full show,
you go. That
Oh,
was from the 1999 full length from Notre Dame. And so you had a lot of problems with that, with the label on that record, which was that the French label, right? Osmosis Productions.
yeah, but the first album coming soon to a theater near you. It was an EP, 5, 6 songs, 4.5 actually, four 4.5 songs, was released on a Norwegian label due to let's say ingredients of sort of black metal, and it's sort of so they got signed to that only for that EP. But then I got called up by this French label Osmose, who did extreme metal music or something, and they've heard it, and maybe it's because of my use of French connections and the band name and the members and so forth. But anyway, they were like totally excited about signing this. So initially they were very, very, very good. I remember I signed on the January 1st, 1999, 2 albums, worldwide contract with them. But as it turns out, like I say, to emphasize on worldwide, then they lost the whole North America thing, and it wasn't released in Asia, and it didn't have any distribution in Scandinavia, basically. So it was like just at the end of the day, it was just France or French-speaking countries.
And that happened
So
like right after you signed with them, didn't it? Where they actually lost the
yeah,
American
pretty
version.
much so. And this wasn't sort of what I signed up for. So but initially they did a great job, and it got nominated album of the year and stuff like that in Terrorizer magazine and Kerrang maybe, or and so forth. So
You
it was
guys
really
sold
good. But
25,000 copies of the first of volume one, I guess it was, in the first
my
three
God,
months.
you know your shit.
No
I have no
touring.
clue really.
25,000 copies in 3 months. That's pretty, and that's no
Okay.
touring too on that. So, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm still waiting for the money. I don't know.
and you guys did your final show was what, Halloween in 2004? Have you guys done anything since then?
No, no. But like I said, I mean, it wasn't a band, so it took years until I put a band together and find musicians who could fit into the thing and portray the different characters like Jean-Pierre Desade and Mannequin Desade and Vampirella and so on. So we didn't do any shows until I think we did the first show in France in 2002, I think, or something like that. And yeah, but it was so difficult, basically. So after 7 years of working day and night with this, I just wanted out of the deal because it felt like, why should I, since I'm doing everything myself, why should I spend my entire waking hours on doing something and then it's not distributed in America or not in Asia and this and that, and this wasn't part of the deal. So I just wanted out of the deal. I tried to change the name and tried to do this and that, but I couldn't get out of the deal. I was like thinking for a long time, maybe I should do a cover of Philip Glass, that sort of art, what do you call that, musician, who wrote a song or released a song called 2 Minute Silence. Yeah, it
But
was
then you wrote songs
apparently
that said like "Bon Voyage, motherfucker," and that was pretty much your farewell to
exactly,
the
yeah.
label, right?
Exactly.
That last out,
Also,
that last
yeah,
piece you
yeah,
got
but
last
that is directed straight to them, of course. And also, my ride into afterlife, it's like thank you and goodbye.
That's great.
Wow.
But
Yeah,
I
but I
mean,
was going to do an extended version of that Philip Glass cover song, which is 2 minute silence. It's just silent. I was like doing the extended version of 40 minutes.
40 minute silence. You actually got
Then I tried
contract.
every fucking trick in the book to get out of that deal, but it didn't work. So I was like, at the end of the day, it's like, okay, fine, you have a brand new album on your desk in 3 months. And I sat down, I was like super angry, and I wrote songs. But what came out was more, let's say, glam metal or something like that. And it didn't quite fit in with that. But I thought this is really, really good. And I was like so fucking pissed off. But so I put all of those songs aside. And I thought to myself, this is not what people expect, and it's too good to release, to give them actually when they just gonna fuck it up basically. So I put together an album in kind of quickly and with song titles as like you said, my ride into afterlife and bon voyage, motherfuckers.
Motherfuckers. But you did get the rights back, though, right? To all that, like about what you just after like what 18, 19 years, you got the rights back to all that Notre Dame stuff.
Yeah, but that was just a few years ago, actually. And my lawyer, he said, after a long fucking process. I mean, they should have given me the rights back maybe 10 years ago, even, or 12 or whatever. But now he told them like a couple of years ago, like, it seems to me that you don't even understand your contract. You don't own this. This is a license deal that you license it. I still own the rights and all that, but I've lost a lot of money on that, I guess, but then I got it all back. So I released just in 2022, I guess, all of the albums, 5 or 6, sort of reissues and slightly modified or reworked and remastered and all that. So I put out all the albums on my Spotify, but under Snowy Shaw, because I mean, on Spotify and all those other platforms, it's easy for me with the kind of career that I've had with like different bands and so forth. So I'm trying to collect it under my own name so people can find it, because it's everything is so scattered. You can't find Ill Will. I mean, and it's better to have it under my own name so people at least can find it. That's what I figure. So that is why by Snowy Shaw and his, I don't remember what it says. What the fuck? Imaginary fiends instead of friends,
Exactly. So you get that, and then in 2002 you did the Dream Evil. So you got involved with that. What with Gus G, and that was Frederick got you involved with that, which was like basically like an '80s band, correct?
Yeah, but that is kind of weird how that came to be, because I had been in his studio recording with another band called Whipped Cream, which involved me for some reason. This was some indie pop band, but this guy, the leader of that band, he involved me and Charlie when we met in the studio when I was recording my own stuff. And so we went to Studio Fredman and recorded an EP, indie pop band that wrote Whipped Cream in an inverted cross for some reason, because they wanted to be kind of satanic or something. I don't know, kind of weird. But anyway, so Frederick, he just saw me like the sticks were flying and it was sawdust all over the floor because I hit so hard and all that. And he was like really, really impressed. So he saved a big bag of my broken sticks and gave it out to all of his clients, like different bands that came from all over the world to record with him. And so, some years down the road, he had been recording in '97, I think, the first Hammerfall album. And they kind of were responsible for taking back that kind of power metal that was so unfashionable in the '90s, of Halloween and all those bands. And they continued in that tradition. And that just went kaboom, basically, and they became very big. And he recorded the second album with them, and they got even bigger. And a lot of power metal bands were starting to pop up. And when they were going to do the third album, they decided, okay, now we earn so much money, we don't have to stay home in Gothenburg. We can go to Nashville and record with Michael Wagner, who did Accept and all that. Like that's a dream come true, I guess. And Frederick, he got so personal about that, and he was so pissed off because he thought he was so much involved in their success in a way. That, I'm going to fucking show them. And he's going to put together the best heavy metal band ever. And then he called me because I'm the hard-hitting drummer and all that. So, and he has met Gus G, this young guy in Greece, who was like a really flashy guitar player, very technical and really, really good, and very young. I think he was 19 at that point or something.
Wow.
Anyway, so he called me down to the studio, and he showed me on his unplugged Strat, like, did some songs that was called Heavy Metal in the Night, and another song was called Heavy Metal Jesus. And here we have this award-winning producer who get like big awards in Japan and in the US and all that. And he's showing me this kind of childish music. And I thought, is this some sort of joke? I thought, is this candid camera or something? Yeah. And so I turned it down. I just said it's not my cup of tea. But then Fredrik is not the guy who takes no for an answer. So he kept nagging and calling me, can't you do it? Come on now. And then he said, yeah, but you can be a hired session musician, just record the album, drums on the album. And I did. At that point, I never met the singer or the bass player. It was just Gus, Fredrik, and myself. And I recorded the drums, and that was it. And then they called me back like a year and a half later or 2 years later and said, okay, would you mind being on the album cover, or not the cover, but in the pictures with the band pictures? Yeah, why not? And then they asked me, can you do like the release party gig or the release show? Why not? And that's how I got involved with that. I didn't like it to begin with. I thought it was like just sort of so predictable and old mid 80s heavy metal music with kind of cheesy lyrics and all that.
You became a full member eventually, because you actually had the last album you did with them, which was the Book of Heavy Metal. You wrote a shitload of songs for that record.
Yeah, but the thing is, after a couple of shows, I mean, I kind of stayed away from playing live because after Mercyful Fate for a long, long time, I did the occasional show because I wasn't interested. I wasn't interested in creating music and recording albums. And but they kind of fooled me or tricked me back into that because I had kind of high expectations and was very ambitious and all that. But with this kind of old hat music, I mean, everything is so familiar. But I agreed to do this warm up show or the release party. And after that, we got like, once we released the album, we got like offers from Sweden Rock Festival or other festivals. And can you do this and that? And it turned out that I didn't know the guys, and the singer is really great, and everything came out really good because of the production, and everybody's fully capable. Even though the composition in itself and the lyrics and so forth, I thought it's like nothing new under the sun. So, but anyway, I went out and did 2-3 shows with them, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, it was just, I mean, familiar music. I mean, you could have a couple of beers. It wasn't that ambitious. We just had a lot of fun, and it was everything taken with a grain of salt or tongue in cheek, and we had a lot of fun with it. So after 3 shows, and I decided to, hey guys, instead of you paying me as a session musician, I should be a full member of the band. Okay, perfect. But that means also that I can contribute and have a say in all the business decisions and so forth. And then I took over.
I think you wrote over 20 tracks for that next record.
Yeah, but for the second album, I got to say that on the first album, Dragon Slayer, I think it's called, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's called, yeah. We everything just happened right away. We got like support acts on a tour with Blind Guardian. We got to fly to Japan on tour and so forth, which was the first time for any one of us and for me also. And so then when we were in October, I remember it being October, and we were touring Japan. We got a call from the label, and they wanted us to get the support slot to Hammerfall on their upcoming tour starting in January 2003. And they said, we can give you the tour support, absolutely. And if you want to do it, wow, that's a great opportunity to get good exposure and, open up for Hammerfall, the same kind of genre and so forth. But it comes with a little request. You better have a new album by then. And there we were in Japan. I was going to go to play with Notre Dame, and Fredrik's studio was booked, and we didn't have any songs. So none of us had any songs really. So basically, at the end of the day, we accepted the offer. Okay, we do that, and you have a brand new album on your desk. So we put it together in 2 weeks. We were working. I was like doing the night shift, recording guitars, for example, and sitting writing lyrics while he was doing vocals and tracking drums. So we worked really intensively there. And so we managed to do everything from writing the songs, recording the songs. We never rehearsed them. I mean, we just tracked them basically. And put it all together with a record, with the album cover and everything. So it was done in 2 weeks, the mastering and everything. So, but when we went on that tour, I told the guys, okay, you guys have like day jobs and all that, and you have trouble, setting off time for us to work together and prepare this. Now we're out on tour here for 2 months or whatever it was, 6 weeks. With Hammerfall, now we have all the time in the world because we're only playing like 40 minutes per show per night. So we have a lot of time at our hands to actually work on this. Because I mean, to me, in my book, it's a shame that you get all these great opportunities and you just put some shit together, like in 2 weeks without any thinking. I mean, we have the best possible way here. We can really create something unique, something exceptionally good. And we tried to do that once, but it didn't really work out because I read about this in my book. I think it's kind of bizarre that to work together with 5 guys in the same room, I mean, that's not how you write songs. You got to have some sort of ideas and you can try them out with the other guys. And usually I have a full understanding of the whole thing. So I write every part of the song, the melodies and the vocal lines and the lyrics and so forth, all of it. But so this was kind of bizarre because I remember some guy said, yeah, maybe we should have a song. I have a cool idea. It's going to be called The Something. What? And another guy saying, yeah, we should have a song in F. That's cool. Okay. Another guy said, yeah, what about we have a song that starts like do-tra and then comes the song. And those were their contributions. I said, that is no substance whatsoever in what you're saying. It's just bullshit. And I started playing the guitar and writing the song and the melodies. And are you too dominant? Oh, I'm sorry, So anyway, I thought to myself, if we're gonna we have this golden opportunity and the best, great potentially. This band is the most commercially potential band that I've ever been involved with because of great vocals and good production and a very, very clear direction with the music and the lyrics and so forth. So when we're going to do the third album, I had like 32 songs or something like that, which was the Book of Heavy Metal and all of the songs. Yeah. So yeah, that's how it worked. But because I mean, we got a lot of great opportunities. I remember Sanctuary Music, our Maiden's management, they were really interested in signing us. So they wanted to have a showcase gig in London. We often play in London, in Camden, this place Underworld. And so we set that up, and Fredrik said, oh, this is super important, so we had better behave. No drinking before the show. But Underworld is in the basement, basically, where on the street level, you have this World's End bar. And he was hanging out the whole day and getting shit-faced drunk, so he fell asleep on stage, on a showcase gig in front of Sanctuary Music. I was like, I mean, people are extending their hands, giving us these golden opportunities, and you return it by spitting in the hand or pissing on them or something like that. And you're like Cliff Barnes in Dallas. You dare not take the leap, basically, or you don't have the guts to do it. So anyway, so I wrote basically all of the songs there. So for the third album, and that made a huge dent. I would say the Book of Heavy Metal became some sort of anthem. Yeah.
Then obviously a band which for you is probably a huge thing, I would think, being the frontman of it. You got invited to, which I'll let you tell the story of, a Therion, which I mean, that's obviously that whole band is bigger than, even in the States. I didn't realize how big they were in other places. Just huge in like Latin America, like, and stuff like that. But what kind of experience was that for you, and how did you get involved with Therion?
Yeah, I must say that pretty much everything that I'm talking about here now, because we're going really deep down into details and all that, but everything you can read it even more in interesting detail that I'm leaving out, I guess, or forgetting. But in the book, so the Book of Heavy Metal, obviously it's called the Book of Heavy Metal based on the most popular song I wrote, the book I have now. And can it be more obvious? Like, okay, you release a book, what it's going to be called, the book I have now, because it's about like my struggle, basically, or life story about all the bands and all the ups and downs and all that. But I quit after that because I couldn't work with those guys in Dream Evil because I felt like a fifth wheel. They looked at it as some sort of hobby or a chance to get away from their families and work and all that, and just get drunk and have fun. And I saw this as a great opportunity, basically. So I did hang in there as much as I possibly could. I mean, it was just me and Fredrik at some point. But anyway, I quit that. I didn't know what to do really. So I was like producing some other bands and helping out, tried to rewrite my own shit. And then came Therion because of Petter, the drummer, that I've known from way before. And he had been in the band for a couple of years with Therion as a drummer. And they had Matt Sleven on vocals then and some opera singer. And they wanted to change the whole band in a certain way. And they wanted to have 2 male singers and 2 female singers. And he thought I would be perfect for that because I can change my voice around, like doing more brutal vocals and operatic as well, I guess, So he approached me about that and sent me a song from what's going to be the new album, Gothic Cavala. And I sang that and sent it back, and I got the job, basically. And I met up with Christopher Johnson, the leader of the band, and I just recorded the vocals. And on the side of all of that, me being one of the singers, they wanted me to be in charge of their visual presentation, also building and designing all the stage props and stage clothes, and be involved in take the pictures, the photographer for the band, and all the promo pictures and all that, which I gladly took on. And because I think with that kind of music being a predecessor of Nightwish, I suppose, mixing metal and opera, and it should be presented in a certain way. I mean, going back to Kiss, I mean, it's all about how you present it, the packaging and all that. And I said, you cannot do that kind of music and wear some old jogging pants and a worn out creative t-shirt or something like that on stage. You got to dress accordingly. Like if you go to musical theater or opera or something, present it in a certain way. I think that is very important. So I was like pushing that thing, and it turned out really good. And I built all the stage props, and we went on world tour for a year after that, and so it turned out really good. And I was like happy to be changing position. I had been like sort of bass player or guitar player or singer in Notre Dame, those few shows that we did, but to be the front man and a singer in a band that was established, because I was aware of the band because I have mutual friends who was involved in all that, but I didn't know the success of the band. But they are nothing in Sweden. Let me tell you, I mean, they are huge in Mexico and Latin America or South America. And we did maybe like 6 or 7 shows, sold out big arena shows. Not big arenas, but let's say 6,000 people or 10,000 people in Mexico. But so we were touring all over the world. But during that time, during the 6 years that I was involved with Therion, we only played 1 single show in Sweden.
That's crazy.
So you don't get to be a prophet in your own hometown, as they say,
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, and with that band, you had worked with what, the Revolver Film Company. So that did that help you like with some of your props you were doing and stuff like that with your stage stuff?
No, actually, I mean, it's kind of funny you mentioned Revolver Film Company, because Patrick Elias, a good friend of mine, I used to help him build stage props and be assistant and all that when he was like shooting bands. Back in 2005, around that time when I quit Dream Evil and all that. And as of recently, just the other week or around a month ago, I was helping him out with Apocalyptica, this Finnish band.
Mm-hmm.
They were going to do a video, and I was like put in charge of, can you rig sort of fix so it looks like a teenage stinking rehearsal room with Metallica posters and so forth, because that's how they started. And I mean, this is product placement or whatever you call that. I brought one of my old drum kits there and my own drum stool, and it says Snowy Shaw on the side, and he filmed that. So things started circulating, people speculating that I was the new drummer in Apocalyptica. I mean, people started, which isn't true, but anyway. Yeah, but I was working with him, and I haven't done that in many, many years until just like the other month. So we're probably going to shoot a Hammerfall video this Friday here.
Oh, sure.
I'm just going to help out, basically.
Well, that's awesome.
But I didn't have anything to do, because I mean, I was doing all those kind of props for Dimmu Borgir, for example. He said, "Okay, can you fix this kind of things?" And I did that. Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Because
Because
I just figure. I mean, I've been sort of, what can you say, out of necessity rather than design or will, or whatever you say. How do you get, like, if you grow up here and you wanted to do some sort of Welcome to My Nightmare Alice Cooper show, when you want to have coffins on stage, you want to have this and that, you don't have Hollywood sort of prop store or anything like that. So I was just like in the 90s, I called to this funeral homes and asked, okay, can I do you have any of those coffins that angled like Transylvania, like Dracula? No, we don't have that. I mean, you have to call Romania or Hungary or something like that. And before internet, how the fuck do you do that? And I just figured, yeah, if you want something done, do it yourself. So I started building all that shit myself, And I'm not a carpenter or anything like that. But I mean, how hard can it be? I mean, you just build it, because you have to. You don't have that much money, so it's better you to make it yourself. And from there on, it's sort of one thing led to another, and that's why I do pretty much everything myself: designing clothes and doing the album covers or blah blah blah, playing all the instruments.
Yeah, and you mentioned we talked about the Revolver Film Company and Dimmu. That kind of tied into there too, right? Because eventually you joined with Dimmu, and you had actually worked on one of their videos prior to that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I knew them sort of casually. I mean, we met at festivals and so forth when I played with other bands, but they, yeah, they're a Norwegian band. I mean, just 3 hours away from me here, and I was working with Patrick and Revolver Film Company on one of their songs, and but when they show up, it's like, wow, did you miss your bass player? Oh yeah, we didn't think about that. They just forgot to tell him that they had a video shoot. So I said, and Patrick said, yeah, but why don't you fill in as a bass player? Oh, why not? But it didn't come out that way. A few years down the line, I happened to join them as bass player and sort of clean vocalist, which is kind of a strange coincidence, I gotta say. Yeah, but that's how it works. Yeah.
And you did the album with
you gotta
them.
be at the right place at the right time, I suppose. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because you did the album with them in 2010.
Yeah.
And so you guys recorded that in several different studios when you guys did that record, and
but we recorded that in Oslo for the first time. I mean, they've been recording in Gothenburg with Fredrik for Nordstrom, Studio Fredman, and all over. They've been in England and all over, I guess. But so it was recorded in Sweden and mixed in Andy Sneap in England. Yeah, but yeah. So I was there. I remember saying to my then girlfriend that, wow, this is the band. This is a modern day Kiss, because of strong image and really cool music with all the symphonic elements and so forth. So I'm going to stay in this band until the day I die. Everything, but everything worked really, really good with the guys. But then down the line, like after we recorded the album, came their manager who completely fucked everything up. And she basically ruined the band. So I said, I cannot fucking work under those circumstances or conditions. And it was like what do you say, adult bullying somehow. Like, here's one Coke for you and one for you to the original members, but none for you. Like that.
And,
What the fuck? So
yeah, you
I
didn't
couldn't
enjoy.
put up with that kind of bullshit.
I had heard that you didn't enjoy your time. Like the Dimmu time was not enjoyable because of that, right? Because of that manager thing.
Yeah, but solely or only because of their manager. Because with the guys, I mean, we had no problem at all. I mean, everything worked really, really well. But they didn't stand up for me. So indirectly, they just accepted that fact. But then they got rid of her later on because she totally fucked up the whole thing, I would say. Yeah.
And you guys, for that album, actually, you guys bought, which I thought was crazy. They bought a composer and like a 50 members, like a gigantic orchestra, right? And like for that, on that record they did, in the 2010 record you did too, was it
Mm.
Abra Hadabra? How would you pronounce that title?
Don't ask me. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was called Adra Had a Bra. Yeah.
Hadabra.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't
But
know.
you guys had like a gigantic, you had a composer in there, right? And an orchestra and stuff for that album?
Uh, yeah, but I met with the guy when we went out to have dinner and stuff. And he's like one of those conductors, and he, based on their songs, he added all the orchestral elements and wrote music on top of that, I guess. I don't know if they went back and forth and so forth, however they did it. But yeah, but I mean, that's the thing with Dimmy, I would say, because if you remove all those elements, it's just some kind of black metal, I would say. So that makes a world of difference, I would say.
No, me and Ed have talked about it before. I've seen many bands before where it's like the stage presence and the whole stage thing going on. If you stripped it all down, it's just a regular rock band a lot of times or something
Exactly,
of
exactly.
that nature, you know? I mean, I'm not even going to mention, but we've seen a couple festivals, me and Ed, where bands weren't allowed to bring all their shit. And you're like, wow, it's so different when it's stripped down like this. Kind of like when Kiss took off their makeup, you know, but
Yeah, but the thing is that, I mean, that's a whole different topic. But talking about backing tracks, I mean, that is like 9 out of 10 bands using backing tracks these days, and it's a must because, let's say, you always compare it to Black Sabbath recorded the first album in 12 hours or something like that. They were a band that had rehearsed and been out playing live, and then they just went into the studio, rigged everything, and played like the concert, and they put up microphones and captured that. That's not how it works nowadays. I mean,
no.
people are working in different studios in different countries, and everything is recorded separately, over a click track, and you just add on more and more, double up the guitars. For example, I mean, I'm playing all the rhythm guitars on Book of Heavy Metal, that album,
Yeah.
and I'm not credited as that, and that has happened so many times with albums that I've done. I only credited as the drummer, even though I play in all the guitars, for example.
Didn't you do an album for who the hell's son was it? I was just talking to Ed about Nicolas Cage's son. Didn't you like go in and
Yeah,
actually
that's
like
very true. I mean,
put in the
that
drums?
was one of those weird things, and that's what's also what makes it so interesting to in this world of rock music, I guess. I was out with my then girlfriend, doing some grocery shopping at the mall one Sunday evening, and Fredman called me and he said, "Oh, can you come by the studio and help coach this young American guy? He's been here now for a week, that drummer of a band, and we haven't got anything down on tape so far." Okay, what do you mean, coach? I said. Why should I do that? What's in it for me? and
Money.
and he said, "Yeah, but money is not an issue. They are super wealthy. It's Nicolas Cage's son, and his friends, basically from Hollywood, like from Beverly Hills. All of them are rich parents and all that. Uh, so what do you want?" Yeah, I said, "Okay, this and that much." I said, "Per day, and I can coach him." So I just I just went to his studio like a 9 in the morning, Monday morning, and there was like this entourage Nicolas Cage's son and his ex-wife, and Shagrath, the singer from Dimmu Borgir, he was going to be the producer, and they were like drivers, and they had like their own chefs with them, and they
Was
rented
Nicolas
a
Cage there?
fancy house and all that. It's kind of weird because okay, and what do you want me to do? And this young guy was like 17 years old or something, and put up all this equipment there, his symbols at least. Anyway, so Fredrik just said that okay, but no need to talk. Just go into the recording room. And I sat behind the drums, and he played me the song. Whoa! And in the talkback, well, what would you do here? Yeah, I would play like this, maybe. And we recorded that. Oh, that's a good idea. And how could you do here? And I basically went through the whole songs, and that part, okay, I should do it like that, just to give him some ideas of how he could arrange the drums for this. And they thought it sounded so good that they decided to keep it like that. And I never heard it. So I basically recorded a whole album, but then they also wanted, okay, we should have Hellhammer from Norway. So they flew him down from wherever he lives in Norway to do two songs. And he recorded those two songs and re-recorded those two songs. And because of his involvement with Mayhem and all that gave some credibility to their album, and that's about it. So.
Did Nicolas Cage actually stop by the studio at all?
No, he didn't. But from what I heard, I mean, he never got paid. They just assumed that they're gonna get signed right away. The funny thing is that they recorded a full album with, I don't remember his name now, but an old famous producer who produced, like everything from The Doors to Alice Cooper and Aerosmith and big bands like that. They recorded that in Hollywood, but it didn't turn out so good. So they just took the whole album and ditched it basically. And they thought, okay, it's down to the producer. So they decided, okay, what kind of music do we like? Okay, Dimmu Borgir, In Flames, blah blah blah. Okay, it's that guy all over the world in Sweden. So they decided to fly over and record with him. But I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, if they don't perform well, if the songs aren't well written, it's down to that. I mean, it's not like the producer can sprinkle some stardust and make it beautiful out of crap. I mean, you can't polish a turd, right?
So many bands, so many content, that these days I just can't stand out. It's pretty crazy. And we're going to actually get to your solo record in your book and let you get out of here because we've kept you for a long time. But I am going to ask you about, I know you played with Sabaton, which actually I am not totally familiar with the band. I know they're a huge band in a lot of places. Yeah. But for you, that was so. It also caused, obviously, which we'll talk about the end of Dimmu and you. But it also was one of the best running bands you've ever been involved with. I've heard you say before. Well,
I would say Dimmu Borgir, which I said that I'm going to stay in this band until the day I die. 7 months later, I had enough because I thought I was going to die because of my involvement. I couldn't put up with it anymore. Yeah, and because of their lack of organization. I mean, there was no structure. Didn't get any. I was just like put there. Okay, this has to be your first priority. Okay, when are we going to work? I have other work to do. Yeah, but it won't tell you. You just have to sit there as a dog and just fucking wait, on hold. And there was no organization whatsoever. And Sabaton, I would say, was the complete opposite. Everything was so well organized and structured. They have like everything was really, really good. So I really loved being in that band. Everything from the merch girl down to the bus driver to the band members to the lighting guy. I mean, it was like a camaraderie. I mean, we were like a big family, and it was really, really good. And but the thing is that I left. I quit Therion, and I quit after I quit Dimmu Borgir. I went back to Therion. I went out on a long tour with them, and we were like 3 months in Europe, I think. And this was in 2010. Yeah, I went back and did that, and we were playing in a lot of places, like former Soviet Union, like countries, Moldavia, Herzegovina, and stuff like that, and each and every fucking day, I mean, fans would come up and say, "Wow, you should record one more album with Notre Dame. We love that. Or even though we like that you sing with Therion, but you should go back with Memento Mori and play drums again, or with King, and please make a new Ill Will album." All fans were like very well informed, and I said, "Okay, that's very flattering, of course. Thank you so much for keeping track of my track record and all my obscure old bands. I mean, I barely heard of your country before." You know, so and you because I wasn't so good in school with geographics and so forth. But anyway, uh, so but it started to get to me and annoy me after a while, because this happened every fucking single day, and I thought, how can I possibly please all of these people, but I cannot be in 12 bands at the same time? And it just kept on forever. And I remember one night it started to piss me off, even though it was meant as, paying credit or giving me a compliment. We were on this ferry from Estonia to Finland, I think, one night, and I was like, how the fuck can I please all these people in any way and still do something? Because I'm not that keen on going backwards and getting back with your old girlfriend that you dumped 6 years ago or something like that. So I was like thinking to myself that, okay, if I am sort of like the chain here in the connection of all these bands, and they asking me to go back there, what if I make my solo show playing all my favorite songs from all my former bands? And I also invite members from these bands as special guests, and I have like my backing band consisting of the best musicians that I know. And wow, that's a great idea. Then I can play Black Funeral, and then I can play the Book of Heavy Metal. I can play like Bon Voyage Motherfuckers if I want to. All those
You're
songs.
finally in
Yeah,
charge of your shit.
yeah. So, and if they want me to not only sing but to play drums and stuff, so I was singing and playing guitar, and then I run back and play a little bit of drums and this and that. I mean, it's the sky's the limit. I can do pretty much whatever I want with it. And also, if I do these kind of shows, I mean, if I would, okay, I'm going to do my solo thing now. And okay, hello, people. You know me from this band and that band, but here are 10 new songs that you never heard. I mean, they wouldn't be so interested. So I could do like the best of show. And that's what I did. So I started doing that. And this was in 2011. The first show was recorded and filmed and all that for, let's say, a show reel that I'm going to pass around to festivals and so forth. And it ended up on a live DVD. But after I've done that, and I was going to do the next year a similar thing, like 3-hour show with Michael Denner on guitar as a guest star, and Pete Black also, and a lot of different people like that. And then Sabaton got hold of me, because they were the support act for Therion on our first European tour for this Gothic Kabbalah in 2007. And we got along fine. I mean, they are great guys and all that. So Joachim, the singer, called me up. Hey, we just lost our drummer here. Do you want to sit in with? Do you want to join the band? I've heard that they had since become really huge, but I couldn't grasp how huge they were. So I said, okay, I'm out downtown running around like fixing stuff for my own show that I'm going to be doing here. But send me the not the set list, but the
Tour
tour.
dates.
Yeah, the tour dates, and I have a look at it. And when I got home later that evening, it's like, okay, it started from October 2012 all the way to Christmas 2014 or something like that. I was like, my God, so there's no way in hell I can do this. I just quit Therion to do my own thing now, and that's what I intend to do. And they kept asking, but can't you sit in and help us out like for 6 months or something? Maybe so, but not until I've finished my big show here that's going to be filmed and recorded and all that. So like I was playing on a Saturday and on Halloween, and on the Monday I was going to fly to London and perform their first show. But I had been working with everything prepare all the preparations for my big show, that I was like totally drained of energy that I couldn't do it. So I had to postpone it a couple of days. And then I flew to Germany and met up with them. And then I played the first show. Coincidentally, in Gothenburg, we were headlining or playing our own show in the arena where I went to see all the bands when I was a teenager. So yeah, for the first time. Yeah. Anyway, so I continued with them for like 6 months, and after that 6 months, because it all came down to money. I mean, and it paid me very well as a session guy, and we got along so fine. So they say, okay, you want to do another 6 months? Yeah, fine. Yeah. But then after that, they say, okay, now you must make a decision. Do you want to be a permanent member of the band, or what are you going to do? Or otherwise you have to leave, because then we have to get another drummer. And I was like, we were flying from way up the North Pole, sort of like a way up north. And we have, what do you call that? Midnight sun. It was like light, no darkness at all. Anyway, so we had like a private jet or something flying there after a show to catch up with our Maiden in the south of Germany, to go on tour with them. And also Ghost was playing before us and stuff. And we were like, chartered flight and all that, and everything is perfect. I cannot possibly have it any better than this. How can I walk away from all of this? But I figured, okay, I was like 42 at the time, and I figured I don't want to be a retired 75-year-old guy sitting at a retirement home and like regretting that I didn't give myself a shot or trying my wings. And I mean, for many people, they are fine with being a drummer in a band and a hired gun, so to speak, or whatever. But that doesn't work for me. So I gotta stretch out and express myself and try to do my own thing. At least give myself a chance to lose, to fail, you know. Yeah, so I decided to step off from that. And Hannes, the current drummer, he was my drum student. He took over from me. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're still cool with those guys and everything.
Absolutely, yeah. They're nicest guys, and everything is so well organized. And they are going from, they are conquering nation by nation. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that they're going to be the biggest band down the road in a couple of years. I mean, so.
Yeah, I had heard you say before too, other press, that like there was the most out of like all the bands you play with. It was just such a well run from everything. Every aspect of that band was just run so tightly.
Yeah, it's a well-oiled war machine, I would say, because of their direction in music and all that. Yeah.
How did it? So you, and then obviously you started doing your own thing with your first solo show in 2011, and with the Snowy Shaw name, you did 3 live albums, a couple singles, but you also put out White Is the New Black in 2018. Now I have to ask you, with that title, I know you mentioned Netflix earlier. Does that have anything to do with Orange Is the New Black? Like, was there like some kind of like you saw that title and something, I could flip this around? And I don't know why I wonder that, but I've wondered that ever since I picked up that record. I was like, I wonder if it has anything to do with
Now
that.
I have to trod softly. Yeah, now I have to trod softly. Yeah, your guess is as good as mine. Yeah, but it can be interpreted in a lot of different ways. But the politically correct way of saying it is that I dress in white, because it has become a standard since Johnny Cash, I suppose, the man in black. And black metal, they dress in black and all that. So if that was considered rebellious or some sort of revolt, because it was only priests back in the day who wore black, and that's kind of did stick out in some sort of way. But it has become the standard in rock and roll, and you got to push the limit or the envelope a little bit. So I'm going to do the opposite. I'm dressing in white.
Well, those Spanish Easter priests, those things they had on their head were awesome, man. I don't know if you saw this.
Yeah, but they have to be black, though.
Yeah, they look wicked, man. That was just creepy looking, I mean, no matter what, it's like, and I know.
Yeah, but the thing is, I mean, I came up with that idea because I was changing members so much, because it's not a band, it's my solo thing. And then I just have people to back me up, because I cannot, even though I play all the instruments on the album and sing and all that, I cannot possibly do it all at the same time.
And how easy is it to replace them? I hate to say that, but like, look at Ghost does, which I mean has to contribute back to you. You're pre-Ghost. So I mean, I hate to say that,
Yeah.
but I mean, it had to like you basically had the what do they call them? I forget what ghosts call. There's a name for
They
their
call
Faceless
faceless
ghouls.
ghouls. Yeah.
the faceless ghouls. But when I
Yeah, but
look at
I got to say, I mean, I saw this interview. I mean, I always got the impression that it's Tobias, uh, Papa, whatever he called
oh,
himself.
yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know. I know
yeah, yeah,
Toby Oscar.
yeah.
Papa.
But he's the lead singer and all that, and then they have the nameless ghouls, and that's cool because they all have like masks on and all that. And then I saw this interview with one of the nameless ghouls, and he was really well spoken and well articulate, and knowing all of the details about the band and talking about business and so forth. I was like, wow, really, really cool. It actually is a band. I thought it was only Tobias thing, but as it turns out, it was Tobias in one of the nameless ghoul masks. Of course.
'Cause I think I saw one of those other ghouls who was pissed off about some kind of not getting money for something on one of their interviews. But like,
Yeah, but
Yeah.
of course, when there's money to be had, I mean, people do not always raise their hand and want to volunteer to do stuff. But when it comes to splitting the money, then they're like, "Oh, I want my share." I mean, the reason I quit Dream Evil, for example, because I wrote so much on the second and especially the third album, where I basically wrote it all. When we're gonna do the follow up to that. We had the singer and the bass player come back in the band, and so we were like a full lineup, and we're going to do the new album, a follow up to the successful Book of Heavy Metal. I got this mail from one of the guys, and he said, "Okay, we've had this talk here, and we are so busy with our families and day jobs and so forth, and so we have this idea that." Maybe you can write all the music and the lyrics because you're good at it, and besides that, you don't have any kids and you don't have a job. And I said, "Oh, thanks for the possibility, or whatever you say. I mean, that you trusted me that way. I gladly write all the music and the lyrics, but then I want my full share of that, which means that it's 100% then. No, 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 no. We should split it all equally 5 ways because we're a democratic band, you know." Yeah, but how democratic is that? I mean, I'm doing all the work. Then I should have maybe 20% of your salary from your work. No, that's not the same thing. That's exactly the same thing.
that's exactly.
Weird how that works.
Yeah, but so I said, I mean, I can't fucking argue. I can't work with you anymore. Go fuck yourself. I take my songs and leave. Bye bye. You know?
Well, I thought those priest hats, whatever the Easter priest hats, were awesome, and the video in the graveyard was great too. And and I mean, and we're actually going to go to talk about your new book here. I'm going to play a song, and then we're going to talk about the book, not new book. Actually, it's been out for a few years now.
Yeah.
But so first I'm going to play the song "Evil in Disgraceland." Is there anything about that you could tell us before I play that?
What can I say? Yeah, but you can hear that's like Amazing Grace. It's involved in that song, and it's also Elvis in Graceland, of course, Evil in Disgraceland. So that's
It kind of has a Venom feel on that chorus too. I mean, it's
yeah, but I've heard that, and subconsciously, I mean, it's probably what I did, like in league with Satan, but I wasn't aware of it at the time. But yeah, you're true about that. Yeah.
we're going to play that.
I would
one
never
now.
intentionally steal stuff, or I mean, it's more like a coincidence because I realized when I was writing songs, let's say 20 years ago, it's like dun, 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 dun. What the fuck? That sounds really mysterious and cool. What is that? Yeah, that's the Pink Panther theme. So yeah, but I don't listen an awful lot to music at all, and I like score music and sort of film music basically, and like Danny Elfman and stuff like that, who write Tales from the Crypt, and that's kind of where I got my inspirations from. So if it's like, oh, that sounds a little bit like the new I don't know, Testament or whatever. That's just a coincidence because I don't listen to
No, and I think with White is the New Black, every song has their own life to it. So I think that's one thing about that record. It doesn't just sound like the same songs. Like it's not just like the same. Everything's a little different on it.
But let me tell you about that, because I mean, it's kind of weird. I didn't know what to do for many years because I was like, wow, I want to do this type of music, and I'm writing a lot of songs for that, and I'm going to make this concept album with that kind of direction, lyrics that goes hand in hand with that style of music. And then I do that for a week or something, and then I gradually sort of phase into something else and becoming more Guns N' Roses or something, because I get tired of that sort of mysterious ogre music or whatever you want to say, like pompous thing, and it becomes more rock and roll. And it's like, wow, this is really what I'm going to do, and I do that for a week, and then I get tired of that and and start writing in a different way. So what the fuck, I can't do it all. I have to choose a direction, sort of. But I don't want to limit myself, because I've had the privilege of being in 2 or 3 bands at the same time. I was doing Notre Dame at the same time. I was doing Dream Evil, for example. I was doing this band called Loud and Nasty, or Triple X, which is some sort of glam rock. By the same time, I was doing Therion. And they are complete opposites. One thing is like this pompous, operatic, symphonic thing, and another thing is, whereas the other thing is the complete opposite, like 70s glam rock, like Bowie or T-Rex or Sweet and all that. So it's good to have a sort of diversity and variety in your music making, I suppose. A repertoire, yeah, because I mean, just like you want to alternate your food. You don't want to eat pizza every day. It's very good, but it gets kind of routine or same. So it keeps your mind open and fresh. And so what I decided to do, like, okay, this is going to be a different samples from all of those different styles baked into one album. So I was initially going to call it the greatest hits of songs you never heard. with samples of all those different directions. But my friend luckily talked me out of it and said, yeah, but if you would be a debutante, it would be cool, but people are familiar, even though this is the first album that you put out under your own name. But most people wouldn't know that. If I was would be a complete unknown and total, like debutante, then it would be cool. The first album you released is called The Greatest Hits. But so he talked me into it, and I said, like, okay, and I was like playing around with different titles, and it's like White is the New Black here.
Yeah, it definitely works. And you can definitely tell the songs are all a little different. Actually, we opened up the show with My Religion from that album, also from 2018 record. And now we're going to play Evils in Disgraceland, and we'll be right back on the Morgue after this track.
and gentlemen, evil has just left the building.
Okay, we are back, and that is Evil's in Disgraceland off of White is the New Black, 2018, Snowy Shaw's album. And let me see here. We are actually going to talk about his book now that came out a few years ago. I think it was published in 2020, I believe.
That's correct. Yeah. On my
2000
birthday, the 25th of July. So,
So you're going back, and with the book and going back to that album that we were just talking about, there's a song on that record which I felt like relates to what got you to write the book. You could tell me if I'm correct or incorrect. The song "Gothenburg Bridge," right? Is this my destiny? Basically,
yeah.
there's a lyric in that. As I was sitting and dangling my feet over the endless pit of the Gothenburg Bridge, staring into the unbroken gray. Now,
Yeah.
when you wrote this book, it was kind of like I've heard you say several times. It came down to like you were just sick and tired and needed a change, and were basically like, I don't know how serious you were when you say it, but you were pretty much, it was either jump off a bridge or write a fucking book.
Yeah, but that's very true. I mean, it's those are actually two songs, like Gothenburg Bridge, and slash Is This My Destiny. So if you read a whole book, you can see that I was like butting heads, or my marriage didn't work out so well. That's the second song, and I wrote this in 2017, yeah, we've been in divorce now like for 3 years and counting, with 40 fucking lawyers and shit like that, because she's trying to steal everything off my back. So, and that's why Is This My Destiny? That's the second song. The first song is like how I felt when I was like, after I came home from that a year tour with Therion, and I turned 40, and I was like, okay, I'm back home. What a fucking loser I am. I was like really worn out, and I was going to go out and play with Death Stars on a 2-month tour with open up for Tool. Korn, I think it was, yeah. And I just had to, cancel all of that. I said, I can't do it. I didn't have a place to live. And I got a new house, and everything was like a big fucking mess. And I thought, what a big fucking loser I am. I mean, there's no avoiding. I am a fucking middle-aged man now. I'm 40 years old and a big loser. I wanted to become Kiss. And what have I accomplished for myself? At that point, I saw everything really, really dark. I mean, it's like midlife crisis. But so I was like, okay, am I going to jump from the bridge? Or am I going to spend the next 10, 20 years on a shrink trying to screw my head right back on my shoulders? Because I was like so fucked up. And I saw everything pitch black dark. I was like so negative because of that. And I started to reevaluate and reassess everything. And one day when I was sitting on that Gothenburg Bridge, like, okay, am I gonna take the leap here? Because I can't put up with myself. I was just walking around. I mean, you have to read about it in the book though, but I got this sort of epiphany, whatever you call it. Like, wow, I feel like I need to express myself, put black on white, sort of, and write about it, just to be able, like some sort of homemade therapy. To distance myself from all the thoughts and unfinished things in my fucking head, and things that you kind of hid away in your life, like all the bullshit. And I went back home and started writing about this, and just putting everything down, all the thoughts. And after like 5 weeks or so, this was in November, and it's like raining, pissing cats and dogs. Like, it's raining all the time. It's dark and all that. But after like 5 weeks, I sort of opened the curtain and could see, wow, the sun is shining. And I saw it as a, on the road to recovery. I actually could see some positivity again. And after being able to distance myself from a right. I mean, I would be in tears and I would be in laughter, all the ups and downs and that, like that. I realized that this is a very good therapy, and it's working. And I realized that, okay, I've accomplished shitloads in my life, coming from like we talked about before, like predestined to work in the fucking Volvo factory and all that. But I want to become Kiss. I may not become Kiss, but I come pretty far. And I always follow my heart and quit bands, and I wasn't afraid of taking chances and following my heart. So I could see that I have actually accomplished quite a lot, even though it's been tough. Yeah.
I was gonna say, so if you haven't accomplished shit, it makes us want to blow our brain. I look at your resume. I'm like,
Yeah, I
oh my
quit.
God.
Yeah,
I quit.
but at that point, I couldn't see anything.
And you mentioned, have you now basically you've quit every band you've been in, right? It's just been on your own accord. You've pretty much quit every band you've played with.
Yeah. I never got fired. So, no. And it's not like, oh, I can sense that they want to get rid of me, so I quit before them. It's not like, oh, you're in a relationship. Oh, she's sick and tired of me, so I break up. So she can have the honor of doing that. No, it's nothing like that. Yeah, but if it doesn't make me happy anymore, I mean, I got into this because I am excited about making music, and if it doesn't make me happy, and it's not that I wake up, people think that I may think that I'm so impulsive that I wake up, oh, fuck that shit, I quit. It's not like that. Over longer periods, and if I'm not satisfied, why am I doing this? Because I never follow the money. I mean, I'm not doing this to be rich and famous. I mean, I'm just doing it to some sort of fulfillment and following my heart and doing what I find exciting and still stimulating. So yeah, that's why I quit all the bands. But that is also why I turn down a lot of offers these days. I record session drums and vocals and stuff on other people's albums. But when they ask me, do you want to play shows? Fuck that. No, I'm not interested. I'm not interested in being in any more bands. I realized that it started out that way. I mean, if I go way back, I mean, that is the benefit of writing a book. You have to turn yourself inside out and think about all the different aspects. When I discovered Kiss as a 7-year-old, I was like really fixated with that. And instead of doing the work in school, I would like have a piece of paper and draw 4 faces. Yeah. Wow, I'm going to start my own band. It's going to be called Devil's Fire. That was about the only English word I knew, So I was like trying to make like makeup for all the guys. I couldn't come up with anything. So looking back on things now, I was like good in drawing and so on. And the teachers kept saying, okay, you must promise us that you're going to be an illustrator or a cartoonist or something like that. And I didn't pay attention to that. But I think that looking back on things now, I would probably be better as a, what would you call that? Musical theater, like being the creator and find, what do you say? Find right people for the different positions. Okay, you're going to be here in Macbeth. You have to have those qualities as a singer, and you have to have long red hair, but you don't. So we're going to put on a wig on you to look the part. Because, I mean, it was the Kiss fantasy in my way. So I would probably be better as a director in some sort of way, or create some sort of game, just like I did with Notre Dame. Fuck that shit. This is my solo thing, but I don't want it to be a solo thing. I want it to be a band. That's why I invented
that band members.
Yeah. And it all boils down to maybe I'm not such a good team player. I have no problem working with people, depending on how things are set up, really. But when it comes to my creations, it's not like I'm so much open to other people's involvement. I mean, I just see them as hired guns. Yeah, like I criticize other bands for because I didn't have any involvement. Exactly like that. Because I don't want. It's my ideas. When I'm writing music, I have all the different aspects. I don't know exactly how I want it to be done. I know that Yngwie Malmsteen be criticized a lot because of that. Like he's such an egotistical guy or whatever. But he has the full picture, and I heard this interview with him when he was saying, I am like a painter, and I consider myself, that applies to me too, that I write something like say a big Renaissance castle or something like that, and it looks like something from the blah 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 whatever. And then you have another guy, wow, yeah, I like girls with big boobs, so I'm going to add that to it. And another guy, wow, I like fast cars, so he's painting a car. Yeah, but that clashes with the rest of it. So it's better that when I worked with King, for example, I have no problem. I am your tool. You hired me to do your job, and I can try to make it as best as possible and give you good advice or come up with maybe better ideas or something. But you have the say. I mean, you have the veto, and I'm in the backyard here, in the back seat. I mean, so you dictate the terms, and it's your vision, and I'm just a tool, an instrument, and will help you to fulfill your vision. Yeah, and yeah, that's what it all boils down to, is that I don't work too well with other guys like that, because you have to be a little bit open-minded. I can be that too. It depends on the scenario, but when it comes to my stuff, these are my children. You don't fucking fuck
Exactly.
around with them. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. And that's
It may sound insane, but that's what it is. I mean, I consider my what I create as, like, I thought about different aspects of the whole thing. So these are my children, and you don't fuck with them, I'm gonna fight for them.
and I think a lot of people think like that. Like you look at like Alice Cooper, like that, at one time that was a band. Pretty much
Yeah.
Alice. I know it wasn't a happy thing back then. When I know this guys didn't like when Alice went by himself, or it does happen. And for you, you've played with so many bands, and you've seen, which is great. Which I can't wait to read your book, actually, because you've seen the true side of the music industry, right? And was that hard for you to actually, like, because in your book I've heard that it's completely honest, like you kind of made a deal with yourself, like, okay, I'm just gonna fucking say it all, pretty much. And you've
Yeah,
lost
but
some
going
friends
back,
from
I got it. Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, in order for a homemade therapy to work, to actually function and fulfill its purpose, I mean, if you're doing therapy, you can't sit and lie, right?
it.
Yeah.
Gotta
So
be honest.
you got to be brutally honest with yourself and tell it like it is. Even though, of course, it's sort of gradually morphed after a couple of years into, okay, I should make a sort of my life story, a book, and I'm telling about all the ups and downs and and all that. And yeah, but I've seen that, of course. Sorry, go
No, no,
continue. I don't remember. Yeah.
no, because I know you dealt with some, like I know what Messiah from Candlemass, kind of, you guys didn't like the book and stuff like that. Did you get anybody who was really pissed off about the book that you put
Yeah, but
in?
it was Messiah. I mean, I don't heard anything else from anyone else involved who got upset or anything. But of course, I'm telling my life story from my point of view and the way I remember it. You might have a different version, but you two guys, can watch the same concert, but you like it, whereas the other guy, no, two sides to every story, and. But I mean, in Messiah's case, I mean, he's the nicest guy you can think of to hang out, have a beer with, and talk shit.
But you
But to
toured with him,
work
right,
with
on the
someone,
conspiracy tour.
yeah, yeah, I love them. I love the. I mean, they were opening up after the first concert I went. We party afterwards, and I said, "Well, shit, you are so good. I love Candlemas." We had like 2 hours. What do you fucking call it? Sound check, yeah. And you guys, you just put it up there and you perform like you kicking everybody's ass. And I said we should swap places because you are so fucking good. I said, yeah, I love Candlemas when it featured Messiah, because he just walks up like this big guy with a big afro or whatever, and then the monk suit and all that, and he just owns the place. He was born to be that way. But there's a huge difference between working with someone and being friends with someone. It's two completely different things, I would say. So I mean, as much as I appreciate him as a private person, it's incredibly hard to work with that guy because. And I'm not the first one to say so. And Candlemas, they fired him twice, and they said, "Go fuck yourself. We don't want anything to do with you." On a personal level, they are probably still friends, and they can be friends and have a beer. But you can't work with someone who's, yeah, but let's say clashes of interest. I mean, with Dream Evil, I mean, I have nothing against the guys really, but if they, like I just told you that, okay, we have agreed that you can write all this the music and lyrics because you're good at it, you know. But we're gonna split it 5 ways. Fuck that shit, you know. I'm gonna do all the work. Yeah,
Right. Reap
yeah,
the
but
rewards off.
sorry.
They're going to reap the rewards off your back. That's
Yeah,
not how that
exactly. Yeah.
works.
Yeah, but to them it might be some sort of hobby, and but to me, I mean, that's what I do for. That's my profession. Really. Yeah.
And you said, Snowy, too, that you will never sign another record deal, pretty much, right? Unless it's like a fucking boatloads of money.
Yeah, but actually, I mean, when I said that, of course, you should never say never. But of course, if Universal is like, please knocking on my door, sign with us, you get 10 million. Yeah, then I could do that. But that's not going to happen. And I said that a couple of years ago, maybe in 2017. Yeah, and it certainly hasn't changed. It's even more so now because the music industry is completely fucked, and record labels barely exist unless you already have a career. Then you can sign with that because they have all the connections. Everything is established with and so forth. But nowadays, it's pretty much down to yourself to run the operation, and that's what I decided to do. It's a shitloads of work, and I've learned a lot, and I'm not willing to. Okay, I may not know this, but I can learn, and I get new sort of evidence of this every fucking month, basically, and that's what I also tell a lot of people, that you have to run the operation yourself. It's down to yourself. And talking about my music as my children, you cannot expect anyone on the outside to lose sleep over your crappy band. I mean, they are just doing it for cash or something, and they sign up to tons of bands and hope that something's going to fly. And they don't want to put in the hours or make an effort. They just want to have money. Everything comes down to money in the end. And to me, I'm doing it out of passion and so forth. So don't fucking touch my kids.
Where do you think the music industry is going to be in like the next 10 years? We talk about this a lot on this show. We don't really see, like, when all us old guys start dying out, I think there's going to be a whole different world. We talk about the album art a lot and shit like that. Like, that's going to be, I mean, we already see it actually with major bands, even like using AI art and stuff. And I think it's just going to become more and more.
Yeah, but everything has changed so much. I don't blame people. We're going back to using backing tracks, for example, because how can you live up and reproduce what you do in the studio and make it sound like that? Most people don't have a clue of the audience. They can't tell the difference between a guitar and a bass. It's something you hold in your hands. I mean, they don't understand. Anyway, the music business is for the customers, the market. I mean, everything is so accessible on Spotify, and like I made comparisons earlier on with Netflix and Storytel, when you have books or you have movies or you have music. I can't see, I mean, the album as a format is pretty much dead. There are a little percentage who still like to collect CDs because they've done that since 91, and it's not like they're going to stop now. But I mean, as a well-informed business associate that I have, he was in a big meeting with the major companies like Universal and all the major distributors and so forth, and they were saying like, okay, all this physical thing is going to end in July 2025. There won't be any distributor. There won't be any. They're not going to sell physical products anymore. Everything is going to be based on streamed music and YouTube and so forth.
It's not even shocking either.
Yeah, it's shocking, but we grew up in an age like that. But you both agree to that it's so much more simple to listen to that song instead of, hold on, there's someone at the door.
No problem, man. And we'll let you get out of here in a minute too, actually. Yeah, it's very true, Ed, isn't it? Like, it's pretty much that it's another 10 years, 15 years. I think it's going to be I mean, I don't even know what it's going to be like. When my kids grow up, I mean, who even knows if they'll, we watch stuff on TV and like you watch live performances and people aren't even plugged into their instruments. There's guitars aren't plugged in. It's just normal now. No one
Yeah,
questions it,
yeah.
We'll have chips grown out of our arms. We won't even carry a phone anymore. We'll have chips planted in our bodies, and we'll just be robots.
Yeah, but let me
Speaking
just tell you about like AI. I mean, that's gonna ruin pretty much everything.
yeah,
Uh, Over the last 2 weeks, I've had people that I know or that is not into music at all. Uh, they have created songs and they wrote maybe 3, 4 words, and they said, "Okay, it's gonna be this modern pop, a female singer, and blah blah blah," and it comes out sounding perfect. The production is good, the vocals is it's very good, and all of that. And when I talk to other musicians about that, they say, "Nah, but I hear what you're saying, but I don't think AI is never going to replace a human who has the creativity for arrangement and so forth." I'm not so sure about that, because if you look at the receiving end of it, the market, the vast average listener, they have no fucking clue what it takes, and they don't care how it's done as long as it's like. Um,
it's like fast food. They just want it.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds good when you're working in your fucking storage or something like that, and you have the radio in the background, la 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 la, sing along, easy songs like that. They don't care that you struggle to learn fucking play guitar and all the recordings and all like that. Everything is, I mean, the business is it's. I would say the digital evolution, and then came internet that completely changed everything. Uh, uh, you're not talking about
Look at concerts, right? Everybody's on their
illegal
phone now.
downloads. Why would you download something when you have it like you pay a subscription of $10 a month, and then you have access to everything, and then you have AI is going to replace everything. So let's say a radio channel that has focus on, okay, it's going to be soft elevator music, like blah blah blah, like that. Why should we buy those songs or use this song and pay royalties for using them? We might as well create those type of music, and this is going to be for the gym. It's going to be pumping a beat like that. Okay, why should we use those artists music? We can just create it ourselves.
Right.
So I have no fucking clue where it's going to lead, but I can't say that I don't. I'm not very positive.
Future's not very bright, I mean, it's definitely
Yeah.
true.
Well, I look at that channel on YouTube where they AI'd Hetfield's old voice, not the new singing voice, but remember his old raspy voice, and they put it over
Yeah.
Alice in Chains and Tool, and it sounds like him singing those songs. But what's
Yeah.
to say people aren't just going to make albums like that and pass it off as their own? And that's not music anymore. That's not music. It's
Yeah, but I've heard Bon Scott singing on Back in Black now. I mean,
Yeah, I've heard
they
that.
made those kind of thing. Yeah, this is what it would have sounded if Bon Scott didn't die.
Yeah.
And well, that's kind of strange, but I have no clue, and nobody knows basically where it's going to go. But to make a living and have that have musicianship as a profession, you say, okay, but then you have to rely on live shows. But after the fucking pandemic, for a Swede to go to the U.S. embassy and have a work permit to do a couple of shows or a small tour, it's 3 times as much. It costs 3 times as much as it did before the pandemic. So it's not doable. Even well-established acts as Anthrax, for example,
Cancel
they
tours.
they planned a European tour. Then the lockdown and pandemic hit the world, and then when that blew over and opened up again, they got back. Okay, we should do this, and oops, we can't do it. A nightliner costs like, what is it, 10,000 euros, which is like $10,000, I suppose, per week, and that is minus the driver and the
the
fuel.
crew.
So
Those
so
Bion bands
you have
now.
to sell a lot of tickets for that, and also you play in places where venues where they have their own staff. selling the merchandise and they take a commission of 30% from that. Yeah, but we have our own merch guild. No, but those are the rules. You have to leave it here at the door, and we have our staff to do that. So you have no profit from that even. I mean, you cannot fucking do it anymore.
No, it's insane. It's
I'm
Well, I know
sorry, but
two
I mean,
bands from Marduk and was it Marduk? Who were the two
they
bands
were
that
one
were
of them, and
supposed to
then
play on
wasn't
the cruise?
they had to cancel
I
that
can't remember the
70,000
other
tons
band,
cruise.
but yeah, because they couldn't get in the country. They made it so fucking difficult for them to get in the country to do it, to
yeah,
do a
yeah.
cruise. It was
Yeah, but
it.
it goes both ways. I mean, overseas. I mean, European bands can't play America. American bands can't play Europe. So you're going to be pretty much stuck here because there's no profit to be made, basically. And if you have going to have that as your sole source of income, it's. I don't see how that's going to change. And also, you go to see a live show. Wow, really cool. I love the live thing, but one thing we learned during the pandemic also, because it took a couple of weeks before people realized that this is going to go on for a long time. Okay, we
Live
can do
stream
live
stuff.
stream shows. Yeah. And wow, that's really cool. And people can pitch in and donate money, whatever they want, or pay tickets to get access to that thing. And people were sitting home watching, let's say, Marduk, as you say, and with your little slipper on, or a cup of tea or something in your computer. But you're missing the whole thing of going to absorb the whole feeling in a big room, and the massive sound, and socializing with your friends who also went there, and you had beers with them, and if you're really lucky you get laid. All those factors are missing, whereas the music on a low volume, it's like, what, he didn't tune the guitar and he was singing out of tune, and all of that thing, it's not the same impression or experience. So that kind of died away or faded away pretty quickly after a couple of weeks, because you cannot replace that with that.
Yeah, I agree.
And
We
I,
talked
Yeah,
I
about
only
know
a
it.
even
couple.
people who, yeah, it's so insane.
Only a,
I know people who was going to do this live stream, and they recorded it. It's going to be broadcasted on a Saturday, a specific date, but they filmed it on Tuesday and Wednesday, and they went to the studio and they did several takes of the song, and selected the best one where he could actually remember the words, and they master everything and corrected it, like auto-tuned and shit like that. How live is that?
Exactly.
yeah, well, we got personal friends of ours, Obituary. They did a couple, like a two, what was it, 2 or 3 day live stream where they played
Yeah.
one record fully, and then
Yeah,
and they did it live. It was live in a
yeah,
warehouse in
yeah,
Florida, in Tampa, and they killed it.
yeah.
And it was
Yeah.
pretty successful for them, but that's a one off because they're one of
Yeah,
those
but
bands that
I
are on
guess
the
it's
rise.
I guess it all depends on the type of band it is, and how you. I mean, that's also why I'm not so interested in playing live anymore, because I'm so old fashioned that I want it to be like made in Japan when they play for real. One day Highway Star is like 4:30 long,
Yeah.
and the next day it's like, oh, 5:30, because Blackmore was in such a good mood, and wanted to solo along there or something. So there is no flexibility. I mean, you are basically, I keep saying this, that if you're playing along to a pre-recorded track and to a click track like that, the only difference between one show to the next is like, hello Berlin, and the next day, hello London. That's the difference. Otherwise, you just go through the fucking motions and doing the same thing like you do in a musical theater. You have like choreography and all that. And you have the pyro. Okay, you have one guy for that. But the lights, it's connected to your code or whatever the fuck it's called, with the computer. So everything to enhance the show to a maximum. Wow, now you get the best out of it. I mean, this is going to happen all the time. I mean, it happened with Kiss when they faked Kiss Alive with the
I was going
audience
to mention that.
and
Yeah.
all that, and you could see everybody started doing that after that. Because how can you compete on different what do you say? One being live and the other one is being fake. It's like anabola steroids. I mean, how can you compete with that weightlifter if you, oh, I'm only eating cheese? Okay, but it doesn't work. He
Well,
can
I think the
improve
live
his.
album's even dead now, right? I mean, you think I remember like UFO. I mean, that was a great that with Strangers was a great live album, or Deep Purple
Yeah.
stuff like that. But I think now you don't even see that. Where we used to see like every band will put out a live album eventually, and you had the hiccups on it, which I love the fucking hiccups. I've always loved the added guitar note or just the random bullshit. But that's pretty much taken now.
Yeah, but I think we are misusing modern technology in the studio. That okay, I can correct that. You sang a wrong note, or that is a little bit flat. Yeah, but in the past, okay, either you redo it or we keep it. You were recording everything like the basic instruments like drums, bass, guitar, and keyboards maybe, and vocals, and then you added some solo in on top of that, and some maybe some choirs, or did the lead vocals afterwards. But you run through the song once or twice or something, and you keep the best take. Where okay, is this perfect? Nah, it's close to. The mission accomplished. The song is good enough, so we deliver it that way. Nobody cares that Gary Thane and Uriah Heep like whoop, you did one wrong note.
Exactly.
Fuck that. Yeah, the young girl's not gonna. She's gonna sing along anyway. Yeah, but now you can have everything perfect, and you're looking at the fucking screen. I've been in the studio and said, turn off the screen, because he was saying, for instance, that the bass is not 100% synchronized with the kick drum on the one here. I don't hear that. It sounds like a let's say wider stroke or whatever. No, but I can see that. Yeah, yeah. But why correct that? So I had to invent this kind of mottos. Perfection is a definition.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, yeah. What's wrong with being human? I mean, the albums that I love the most is like Into Glory Ride with Manowar, or Rain in Blood with Slayer. I mean, it's like they have a lot of fucking ambition to deliver the goods, but it's not perfect if you look at, if you measure, oh, okay, they keep the tempo. Who the fuck cares about that? Stairway to Heaven, or Child in Time, those songs, I mean, it's more like an orchestra, like I have a conductor. It's like it's raising the tempo, and it's kind of coming to the climax. It's like, wow, they're playing faster and more intense and all that. What's wrong with that? I mean, it's the Euro disco, that kind of thing, or techno, that has ruined that thing. It's like, okay, you have to have the same steady beat. Yeah, but nobody dances to Mercyful Fate, right? So why should you apply those rules to that?
Yeah.
They lost the rawness of it. They lost the whole complete rawness of music.
Well, everyone's
Yeah,
That's
like,
the
but
key.
so that's what I'm thinking. But when I'm eventually going to get my ass, thumb out of my ass and record my stuff, I'm going to film it, and I'm going to do it for real. Yeah, maybe, yeah, and keep the mistakes. Yeah, because the music that is most appreciated from my stuff. When I'm not doing demos. I'm tracking guitars over a click track because I'm playing all of it, and I find a tempo that I feel okay. This is good, and then I just do some sort of rough sort of guide guitar, and 9 times out of 10 I end up using that. Okay, maybe I should have tuned the guitars properly before I did that, but okay, it's cool enough.
sounds
know.
cool, yeah.
And sometimes I was like, okay, here it's going to be a solo, and I do some sort of sketch just to a pointer. Okay, it should be here, and I'm not a guitar. The guitarist like that. I don't even know the key. I'm just playing some on the thin strings, let's say. And wow, that had a lot of, I love it. I keep it like that. And same with vocals, like Nacht guys from White is the New Black. I mean, when I got my new studio at that point, and I had this guy helping me out, and okay, let's try out this song. So it's one take on the drums, and the guitars is like that. And I was like, suddenly I felt his presence, and then I didn't have any vocal. I didn't have any lyrics for the last verse. I was just singing like that, and I kept it like that. Nobody has noticed.
People are making up words for you. Well, I think people also have the misconception. Like I've heard you say this too. Now people now you don't get together in band rooms really with everybody. It's everyone has their own studio now. Everyone's making
Exactly.
everything. There's nobody to sit over your shoulder and be like, "Hey man, keep it like this. It sounds fucking cool." Everything's
Yeah.
like you're getting the most perfect takes of everything, which I think takes away from the naturalness. You're talking about Rain and Blood and stuff like that. I mean, there was just something gritty about those records, and that takes away from that.
Yeah, but I think if let's say metal is supposed to be sort of primitive in a way, and a lot of heart in it, and killer instinct, or whatever you say, and not to be perfection like Toto, or or something like that. It's not that type of music. And why should it be sterile? Or I'm not criticizing Toto per se, but that is kind of, sterile if you compare that to other bands. It's got to be that rock and roll guts in it. And if you remove that just to make it perfect, then you loses everything, I guess.
No, 100%. And
Yeah,
Snowy,
agreed.
I know you got your doorbell. We appreciate you coming on here. Let's give what now? SnowyShaw.com, right? Give your whole spiel. First of all, the book is
No,
it
no,
still
no, no.
available?
It's .net.
Oh, there you go. So go ahead. You tell these people where to find you at.
Yeah, it's www.snowyshaw.net. Yeah.
You got a bunch of stuff on there, right? Books, records. I mean, pretty much
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm talking about this with different people like every week and every day, pretty much. Like where is it going to go with the music business? And because we have been granted a lot of technology that they can help people who sing out of tune and they cannot play a straight beat. So you can quantize, and you can, in a synthetic way, fix it. It sounds like crap. Don't you worry about that. We have sound replacer and and this and that. And we are using this too much. That was invented to maybe help if you put in choirs and someone sing a wrong note. Maybe you can change that so it doesn't ruin completely the whole thing. But what happened to rock music? If people are so fucking anxious, oh, I made a mistake. Fuck that shit. Yeah. The best thing I know, I mean, the best experiences that I've ever had when it comes to performing music, it's not playing live. I always felt ashamed about that. People say, yeah, but I love it in the studio, but that doesn't compare to live when you meet the audience, that kind of interaction and so forth. I never really felt that. What I feel when it's like the best is when I'm jamming music. There are no rules whatsoever. We are three guys just playing, and we can keep on for 2 hours. We're starting out like with some sort of spaced out jazz, ending on death metal, going through all the motions, being flexible and listening to each other. That's what music is, I guess. It's like sex. I mean, how's the perfect intercourse? Okay, do we do the 7 minutes today, baby? Or is it going to be the 3.5 quickie? Or what is it? And okay, now it's time to do the doggy style. I mean, there are no fucking rules.
Right.
Yeah, just play and be in the moment, just like you want to be in the moment. You go to a concert, not holding your fucking iPhone up there and filming the whole thing. Yeah, and you can watch it later. Be absorbed by the fucking moment. Yeah. Just like I'm here. We've been talking for over 3 hours now.
Yeah. I mean, basically, the book is here. No, but like,
exactly.
We had Carl Kennedy on here from the Rods and stuff recently, and he's
a great drummer and a great producer.
Great
I love
guy
that
too, man. He was awesome. He actually just put a book out too, but he was talking about the same thing. He said, you'd be surprised how many, like, say a young guitar player comes in the studio now and they play something wrong. They're like, well, you could just fix that for me. Like, that is the mindset now. Like, I don't have to redo it. Just put your magic on it.
Yeah, but it has lost. What can I say? I mean, Fredrik Fredman, he recorded so many bands, of course, over the years. And here comes this drummer, and he's just starting playing with this, everything is rigged and sound checked and all that. And he started doing drums, but he's not playing his bass drums. It's only his hands. And he's like in the talkback, excuse me, what's going on here? Why don't you play the kick drum? I can't do that. You have to add that afterwards. What?
That is the way now. I mean, it is. See, because we, like me and Ed, we're pretty old. We recorded on tape too back in the day. Like, I remember that was my first thing I ever recorded on was tape when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Now it's like you couldn't even imagine. Like, I even know when I've been in the studio, it's just a whole different. They could fix anything. It's just and there's guys. Who was it, Ed, that was saying that? There's bands now that can't even play through a whole song, but if you listen to the recording, it sounds like they got this amazing thing going on, but they actually couldn't hop on stage and play that
breaking it up.
Yeah, but that's so insane. That's also why I'm saying to go up and jam like I done with Uli Roth, for example. He's like that type of guy, like from a school of Hendrix and all that. I mean, just keeping an open mind and not being afraid of making a mistake. Of course, if you never heard it before, of course you can make some mistakes, but you correct the mistakes. It should be playful, like everything that's stimulating or amusing. It should be playful. Like I often compare it to having sex. I mean, it's not like I have a fucking set rule. Okay, we have to follow all the points here. Just did it feel good? Yeah, then it was good.
Not pregnant, right? Okay, cool. We're doing okay.
Yeah, but why should you? I mean, it's so. I would say anxious, like, okay, it must be perfection. So if people record and you just fucking loop it, like, okay, and then you just loop it like 3,000 times, oh, super tight. Yeah, but it's done in the studio. How can you do that live?
Here's a question for you.
What's
Sir.
wrong with it being natural? Yeah.
Here's a question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but what is the band you've seen through your life that you saw live that completely disappointed you, that was, that nothing like the record, like just totally the opposite of that, where you're just like, holy shit, like the image you had built up was so superior.
I can't, right off the bat, I can't think of any, because I mean, people have fixed that with backing tracks and so forth to sound pretty much like they do on the album. But
like
that
Kiss,
is a
right? I love Kiss.
huge,
I've seen Kiss.
yeah, but that is a huge disappointment if people have like 60-70% pre-recorded, and yeah, but I tend to like, I mean, the only sort of kind of new band that I like, Wolfmother, for example. I mean, there are three guys, but they could be from 1974 because they're doing the kind of 70s stuff. And yeah, but that's amazing because there's something you can't even touch. They're for real. And there are more rock and roll bands, more rock bands, whereas let's say metal have to be just like it sounds on the album. The exception being Iron Maiden and AC/DC, of course,
Yeah.
and a couple of other bands like Saxon and Judas Priest. I mean, those kind of old school bands. Yeah, of course, there are a lot of death metal bands that doesn't use that, but it's kind of funny. With Therion, we were playing somewhere in South America, and this reviewer, this guy, he wrote afterwards, like, okay, I went to see Therion last night, and they were amazing. They brought a full symphony orchestra with them, but due to lack of space, they have to be in the backstage area. Okay, it didn't have anything to do with the little laptop on the side of the drummer.
Oh my god! Now, do you listen to any new music besides, like, do you check out the new Priest album that just came out or anything like that? Or you kind
Yeah,
of
but that's the only thing. I was like working on some artwork, and I was sitting listening to that, and it sounds very good. I mean, Rob Halford is always a pleasure to hear, of course, So yeah, but I realized that when they released Firepower, I think it's called, came out like in 2018. When I started listening to that, I love Halford, and he's the best. So it's good to hear him. But I realized that if I want to have myself some Judas Priest, I put on something that I'm familiar with, whether it's like Sad Wings of Destiny or British Steel or Stained Class or something. If I want my portion of Judas Priest, I don't really need any new music. I mean, but that's just me. Yeah. Because I want to hear something that I have some sort of relation and emotional, memory from.
No, definitely.
Well, as
totally
we've talked about before, there's a 3-week cycle now on new records. It lasts about 3 weeks, and then you forget about it, and that's the sucky
they get
part
shoved
about it.
down your throat.
Because
and
you
then,
said it in the beginning. Yeah, because remember, you wouldn't even know if you liked the song in the beginning until you listened to it 20, 30, 40 times. Now there's so much music coming out, you can't keep up with it.
Yeah, but it's insane. I mean, this topic has so many different aspects. Kiss been criticized, for example. Oh, why don't you put out any new albums? Yeah, we did. We did Monster, and before that, whatever the fuck it was called.
Sonic Boom.
Uh, but it can never compare to those albums that you bought when you were a kid, then you've been listening to since you were 10 or something. Even if it wasn't that good. Oh, Dr. Love, is that really that good? No. But you've been hearing it for fucking 35 years or 40 years. So you think it, and if you listen to a new album, oh, what's this? It doesn't sound like Dr. Love or Ladies Room or something, because you can't compete with nostalgia.
No, you're right. Like if you were say 20 now and you heard Love Gun, would it have the same
Yeah,
impact on you as it did when you saw the poster?
absolutely not.
Yeah,
Absolutely
exactly.
not.
Or Sabbath back
But I
then.
mean, for me, I mean, I was listening to Pippi Longstocking, music or whatever when I was a kid, and then you go into something that's sort of rock, yeah, and it sounds like screaming vocals, and this is tough, and of course you're going to be like a fucking sponge and soak it in. Wow, for those guys who are like 5 years older than me, they grew up with Led Zeppelin and all that, and they thought like Kiss, what kind of crap is that? It's like some sort of clowns. Yeah, but I mean, what got me into them was their image, the way they looked, and then the music was like, wow, that's really cool too, and we just accepted that, I guess.
A lot of those bands,
But
even AC/DC, when I saw Bon Scott for the first time, I was like, wow, I'm like, this guy just looks the part. I mean, and Kiss was so
yeah,
theatrical.
but I gotta say, I mean, people ask me, okay, is there any band that you would join if you got the offer? No, I'm not really interested. It might be a different situation when I actually get the question. Or do you want to play with Guns N' Roses? Of course, yeah, I would love to do that. But I keep saying that AC/DC's got to be the exception on any position. I can play rhythm guitar or bass or drums or whatever, because at the end of the day, it's like fresh air and jeans and beer or whatever. ACD is like the bedrock.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it always works. I mean, it doesn't matter. You don't have to be into rock music, but ACDC always works. It's the what do you say? Fundamentally, the rock and roll, and they deliver the goods. So every time I listen to it, I keep saying everyone else can fuck off. AC/DC rules.
Probably why they're played at arenas all the time. If you ever go to an arena to any kind of event, there's always like AC/DC playing, or even Ozzy now a little bit. You have
Yeah,
some
yeah, yeah,
crazy train
yeah,
and shit. But no, I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's so weird. I remember I talked to this to some friend a couple of days ago. I went to see AC/DC at this huge arena in 2002, I think. I was like, wow, I lost it. I was like headbanging and singing along, throwing myself on the ground or something. I was like, wow, it's the greatest band in the world. And I realized I hadn't bought an album with AC/DC since I was in seventh grade, and that was For Those About to Rock.
A long time
and
ago.
that was 1981, so yeah, but it doesn't matter, because I mean they have like this repertoire of like great songs over such a long time that I don't necessarily care about Black Eyes or whatever they call their new songs. Yeah,
And some of the older stuff, like Who Made Who, remember that? Like that grew on me as I got older. Like but I was
yeah,
back in black and anything with Bon Scott and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah.
But you're right, they're timeless and they still put out albums. And if they play the venues, people are still coming. I mean,
Yeah, but I think that's the best thing. I mean, it's guys. It's no gimmick. Of course, they had some sort of gimmick back then, but they are jeans and t-shirt and rock and roll, and that's that always works. I got on that topic. I got to tell you a story. I mean, every job I ever wanted as a drummer, I got. Uh, with the exception of AC/DC tribute band, which I failed. And you would think that AC/DC is the most rudimentary, simple, straightforward music there is. But I got so excited because I love the music so much that I played it way too hard. It was like, hey, calm down. Just killing it. And no. So I didn't get the job.
the one band. I know, right? People think it's, yeah. I mean, Angus. I mean, you got to me, Angus Young. When I was a kid, the schoolboy outfit, just jumping around on stage. To me, that was exciting. It goes along right with the kisses and all that stuff. It was an image that you saw. I mean, it's definitely, for me, even to
Yeah, but
this
I mean, they can just continue for a few more years, and then they're going to be done. Once Angus is too old to jump around, then it's over.
That's what
You
the
know,
scary
and
thing is. Like in 10 years, what's all the band? Like I could see the bands that I think are going to be the ones taking over. Like you mentioned, Sabaton. Those you can see the bands that might be the next. I hate to say Iron Maiden, but those bands that everyone goes and sees because it's nostalgic, you know. And
yeah,
I kind of even King, you know, with Diamond and stuff. They're all getting so much older, you know. It's like we
yeah.
saw King Diamond. What tour? We just saw that 3 years ago, Ed. We saw that tour right before the pandemic. We saw him in
Right
Orlando.
before the yep,
Yeah, but
yep,
I
right before the
saw
pandemic.
King Diamond in 2019, and then they released that single from
Yeah,
the upcoming album.
Yep,
yeah, that was,
Whatever.
yeah,
that never came
because
out
it
yet.
was actually 2 days after Timmy died is when we saw him because they paid tribute to him
Okay,
on
okay.
stage.
Yeah, in Orlando.
So
Yeah.
Yeah, but I saw Mercyful Fate also in 2022, I think. It must have been at Sweden Rock Festival, and it was like a really great tour they did all over the world,
And the
pretty much
States
with
too. I think
Mercyful
it was
Fate.
big there when they were playing those shows
Yeah,
there.
but King is, and he's getting older. Everybody's getting older. Everything is based on nostalgia. For a lot of people, they never got the chance to see Mercyful Fate back in the day, and now it's the first time they ever saw it, and that's the way it is. I mean, we're all getting older,
Yeah.
and everything is like all our heroes. They are most of it. I was listening to I Am Ozzy, that book, for example. He's born in '48, just like Alice Cooper, 48.
Crazy
I've
food.
always been saying that I was born 20 years too late. I would love to be 20 in '68 to be in San Francisco being a hippie,
Yeah.
and yeah, but I mean, they are 20 years old. So Alice Cooper just turned 76, I think. And how much longer can it go? I have a wish for Alice Cooper, though. I've been saying this for years that I hope he's gonna hang in there for a couple of years more, so he can sing "I'm 80"
Yeah,
and I
exactly.
don't know what I want.
Ed will verify this for you. I've seen Alice Cooper 26 times. I've taken my
Yeah,
yeah, I always go see him because
ridiculous.
I never know. It always feels like I'm always, I take my wife to see him. My wife's 10 years younger than me. I always go and he's always awesome. I've met the dude before. He's great.
yeah, but he's perfect. I mean, he's probably the only one who hasn't suffered from losing range in his voice because he started out meh 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 meh
Exactly.
meh like that. So it's not like he's going to be this operatic singer or anything like that.
I mean, shit. Even in the Spiders, which was his old band, he still sounded like Alice. He still had that voice, and it's not much
Yeah,
different
yeah,
now. You know, I mean, it's
yeah.
you
But
know,
he's really exceptional, a really cool guy. Funnily enough, I'm going to be opening up, not me, but I'm going to join the band as a guest star or a guest appearance in Switzerland this June and open up for Alice Cooper.
oh
And I'm doing that just because I want to meet Alice Cooper and hang out.
yeah. You know, it's funny, Snowy. When I met him in Orlando before. This must have been like 10 years ago. He
Yeah.
talks about American football. That's what you talk about with Alice Cooper. He does like he doesn't talk about much music. It's like, but he was the nicest guy. I mean,
Yeah, I figured that much. I mean, a lot of those people, let's say David Bowie, same thing there. They got probably early on in their career when they got all the attention. They became Vincent Furnier became Alice Cooper, and
yeah,
David Bowie became Ziggy Stardust, and they kind of lost it because they were always in character. But now Alice talks about himself, and then Alice goes up on stage and like in third
third
person and so
person.
on.
Yeah,
You got to separate yourself. A lot of people, I mean, it's funnily enough, especially Americans, they okay, King, how is he? I mean, is he weird? I mean, he lives in Dallas, Texas, and he walks around with his corpse paint and a top hat and all.
a
No, he's
racing hat.
just a normal guy. Yeah, but it's no different than being an actor and he puts on the makeup and doing his show. Yeah, but you got to separate that thing. When I was doing Notre Dame, I remember doing interviews, and they said, "Are you a vampire for real? Do you drink blood?" Oh, come on, I'm 30 years old. I mean, it's just my childish fantasies that I'm living out, like from Scooby Doo to Alice Cooper and stuff like that. I'm just But I'm not faking it though. But it's a part of me. But I'm also a fucking normal person, of course.
I
Yeah.
think the only people that push it to those boundaries was like Gigi Allen and stuff like that. Who was like, I don't know if you know, are familiar with Gigi Allen at all. So that was
Yeah. Unfortunately.
taking his
Yeah.
shit off the stage and stuff. And that was pretty real. But
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, but he might have pushed it a little bit far, so he died. Also, yeah, right.
yeah, he was a mess. But no, I
Yeah,
mean,
but most people, I mean, that you think they are so weird or whatever, but they are like humble, very grounded, normal people, and they put on that kind of show. The best example is probably Iggy Pop. He,
love Iggy Pop.
no, not the best example, but he also separates himself from Jim Ostenberg to Iggy Pop, and he goes up on stage. Okay, I have no fat on my body, even though he's like 75 or something like that. So he puts on that show and being that person. And in normal life, he's like very business minded and very wealthy, from what I understand, and all that. But he puts on that kind of punkish, the grandfather of a forefather of punk, and on stage. But it's an act in some sense.
Dio was great. I remember like that guy was another guy who off the stage was just awesome. I mean, Ronnie James Dio
Absolutely, yeah.
was such a, and he learned, which I thought was crazy, was he had learned from playing with Rainbow how to treat his fans, because I guess Blackmore was like the total opposite towards the fans, and so Dio took note
Yeah,
right
yeah.
away. Like, I'm going to
Yeah,
treat.
but I also seen that. I mean, it's so cool. I saw this interview after he died. I mean, he was remembered as much for being this humble, super nice guy. He always remembers name. I met him once in Tokyo in an elevator. He's like, it was just him and me, and I had lost my voice, and I was like totally fucked up. But anyway, and he said, "Hey, aren't you Snowy Shaw?" What? Ronnie James Dio know who I am, and he gave me the sign and all that. But anyway, he got remembered for being such a nice person. And I saw this interview that they asked him, okay, you're famous for standing out in the rain, signing everything for your fans and being the nicest guy. Where did you learn that? Is it from your youth when you get to see Elvis or whatever and he brushed you off? No, but I was playing with one guy. He didn't say Richie though, but I was playing with this guy, and he was so rude to fans. And if it wouldn't be for the fans, we wouldn't be here. I mean, if they don't buy the tickets and stuff like that, and you got to treat them with respect and well, and so he learned by that.
That was
That
Blackmore
is
he was
a
talking
good
about. I heard him
indication.
talking
Also, you don't have to set an example. I want to be like that guy, or if you have the opposite, okay, I definitely don't want to be like that guy. I don't want to be like Richie and take a piss at your fans, because I mean, those are the reason. Those guys are the reason you're there. In
I
the first
remember
place.
that. Someone think
Lemmy was the same way.
Lemmy was awesome.
Lemmy was
Definitely, yeah.
he was who he was on stage. He was just a guy. Drinks. I mean, that persona was who.
Yeah, but he was the real deal. He didn't fake it at all.
Oh no,
For
not at
good
all.
or
That's
for
what I'm
bad.
saying.
I mean, I've heard some inside stories like from Mickey D, where he completely ruined it because he couldn't fake it. When there was like, what do you call that when they were playing a plastic Guitar Hero years ago? And that big company, like, okay, we want to have Motorhead, Ace of Spades on that. And he was sitting there with all these high, businessmen and all that. And he was like, what kind of crap is that? Oh, fuck that shit. And couldn't you just keep your mouth shut for a little while? And we would earn so much money. Yeah.
Lemmy was. We talked about this actually not too long ago too. Is I worked for a metal magazine in Tampa, and I ran into Lemmy at Rainbow Bar and Grill when we went to NAMM one time, and there was Lemmy and there was Ron Jeremy, and I mean, at the bar, Lemmy had his cigarettes, and I mean, it was, even as a kid, it was like, this is the perfect image. Like, he came walking out of
Yeah.
the Rainbow, and it was so. I guess you would say it's so rock and roll. I don't know what you would say, but it was that. Like, it was just. Lemmy was very nice. He was very pleasant for being, walking out
Yeah,
of the
yeah.
Rainbow.
From what I hear a lot from Mickey D. I mean, how he idolized the guy. He was like a father to him and all that, and he was the real deal. I mean, I met him countless times, and he's not pretending, or he's not putting up an act. Especially not. I don't know how he was when he was 20 though, but when he was like older, I mean, he was just himself. I often find myself. saying that he's like the equivalent to Seb McKay, if you remember that TV show of rock and roll, the real deal.
Yeah, he was one of those guys. I mean, he's he's a legend now. I mean, they actually built a statue of him now in the Rainbow and stuff. He's immortalized. I mean, hopefully they don't close down the Rainbow ever. That's the
But we have here in Gothenburg, because of Mickey D lives there and all that. I guess that's why. But we have like this annual show on his birthday, or maybe it was his death day. I don't remember now. Where we get together, a lot of musicians making all these constellations and play Motorhead songs or Lemmy songs, and all of the profit goes to cancer foundations and so forth. Which is really good. I mean, we do that like every year, and that's really cool. All of the people getting together around Christmas or a couple of days after Christmas, or whatever it is.
Yeah, I know they do some bowling thing too for him for the same cancer foundation. Because the thing that sucks with when it comes to Dio actually was if Dio would have got checked, they said he would have been okay, but I guess he just didn't get checked or something. I've read that a few times. So it's we're all getting older, and that's what, like you said, it's now like you go on Facebook, it's like an obituary now. Like it's like this guy's gone.
Yeah, but I don't know if you've seen. I gotta say, but you better check out that video I put out. Like during 2021, I released one single every month, like from January to
25th or 26th, right? You were doing that.
Sorry.
You were doing that on like a certain day of the month, weren't you? It was like the 25th.
Yeah, on the 25th, whatever it was. Yeah, but anyway, so the last song in December, before I put it all out on physical copies, CDs and vinyls and all, it was called "The End of an Era," because I should have had Dan McCafferty, the singer from Nazareth. He's like a childhood hero. I mean, the coolest rock voice ever. But he was too ill to actually do that, and he died later. I should have Ken Hensley, which is the keyboard player and songwriter from Uriah Heep, like one of my absolute heroes, and he also passed away. And I did this lyric video when I just put all of the people who died, and I had to make a remake or an update a year later, because then a lot of people more have died. We see more and more of our heroes just passing away, but it's only natural, because if they're 20 years older than us and lived a kind of rough life and all that, that's what happens to us.
No, you're right. And all the people, you're correct too. All those people that were like on TV when I was a kid, they're all going now, because that's like 15, 20 years ahead.
Yeah, but it's kind of sentimental. I remember, I mean, it seemed kind of a weird thing, but Olivia Newton-John from Greece.
I love her as a kid, man.
And I was like surprised about, wow, it's you get memento mori. Do you know what that means? It's like
it's Latin for death. Basically, what death is coming.
Yeah, but think about death. I mean, it's like a reflection that you see that nothing lasts forever, and when all your teenage or childhood heroes, like TV personalities or whatever, when they pass away, you realize, fuck, we're getting older.
Unless you're Keith Richards, then you're rolling.
Who?
Keith Richards, that guy.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's rolling for.
Yeah, but it's kind of scary, but that's the way it is. So I'm kind of looking at, in order to motivate myself to actually make music now and do albums and so forth. How can I do that? I mean, there's very little money in it, a lot of hard work, but I have to look at it. Okay, this is my legacy. What I'm going to leave after me. Not that anyone might care, but I'm doing it for my own self, because you have to look at it that way. Because I mean, it's not like, wow, I'm going to be huge soon. When I grow up, I'm going to be Kiss, but I'm 55 now. So what do you expect?
You think, Snowy, that the fact that, because I don't know, like, is an artist like with yourself and a lot of other people, like, you're never going to truly be happy, right? Does that keep the drive going, that never being satisfied, like always having to find that? It's kind of like adrenaline, right? Like I feel personally in life myself that like I'm never satisfied. I always got to look for the next thing. And you think that keeps you going, actually? Because once you get comfortable, you just basically want to stagnate.
Absolutely. Yeah. But I certainly can sign on to that, because, okay, this was good, but you always have to work on next time. I'm going to get it even better. And I'm going to be, of course, in life in general, I guess, if you just sit down and being content with everything. Oh, okay, it doesn't get any better than this. Fuck. Yeah, but you got to reevaluate things. The world changes around you, and you cannot be static like that. I mean, so you have to reevaluate. Right now, I mean, I tattooed on my hands, here and now. It says, it kind of washed off a little bit somehow. Yeah, but it says here and now because that is my new motto. It sounds like a cliche, like a carpe diem and all that. But the only thing in my life, I've never looked back, or I didn't live in the present. I was living in the future, what I'm going to accomplish, what I'm going to achieve of my dreams and all that. But once you reach eventually a point where it's like, okay, I'm going to appreciate being here and now, being lost in the moment, whether I'm writing music or having sex or watching a movie or having dinner or whatever. Try to be in the present, here and now. That's the only thing that exists. And from the way I see things, it's like how the world is, what's happening in the world. It's not like it's going to get any better. So yeah. So, I mean, try to appreciate what you have now, because there are no guarantees that you're going to even wake up tomorrow. So
exactly. You always think it's going to be. It all goes back to your last Mercyful Fate show, right? You always think it's going to be the greatest of all, and then it's always just like, okay.
Yeah, but then you get disappointed because nothing really happened.
The high is
just like, now I have to reevaluate things and set up new goals.
Yeah.
And I have the privilege of actually realizing many of my goals, the things that I set up at a young age or whatever. And once you've done that same moment, it's like the vinyl collectors or cassette collectors or book collectors or whatever. Okay, there are 10 albums here, or 20 or something like that, but that is a super rare thing. The first print of Rock City with Riot, that's really hard to get. But once you get that in mint condition or whatever, for example, that in that same moment the chase is gone, what you sort of looked forward to, and nothing happens. So now I have to start collecting Coney Hatch albums instead, or whatever. Yeah, because in the same moment you get it, then you have already won, and then the chase is over. So the chase is better than the catch. Like,
why, when you're young, life is so exciting. It's all about the chase, and then
yeah. That's the way it is.
Get it, and then it's on to the next.
Should we wrap this up now? I mean, it's been going almost 4 hours.
We talked about. We've complained about AI. I think we've pissed off everybody. So yeah, no, Snowy, man, we really appreciate you coming on today for as long as you did. And so basically anybody that wants to find you, it's snowyshaw.net, correct?
Yeah, exactly. Or any of my social media, whatever, like on Facebook, I have like an official page, and Patreon, for example, I'm there because you Americans seem to very keen or more on supporting people like on Patreon, so that's a good thing.
You got books left for anybody? You got some books left? They can just go to your site and get all that stuff. Like I said,
I do, but I actually have also storage in San Diego. I don't know how much of them are left now, but you can still get books to ship around in America, even though I ship it though. But anyway, so cool. It's easier to get it signed and all that from America.
Well, Snowy, we appreciate you. We're going to say goodbye to you when we disconnect here. Ed, tell everybody where to hear the Tampa Morgue, whoever's looking.
Wonderful. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Spotify.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah, Spotify, Apple, YouTube Music, all of those platforms. Yeah.
That's right. Snowy, we appreciate you again coming on. We're going to say goodbye to you here in a second. To everybody who listens to the Tampa Morgue, we appreciate it. We'll be back next week. We'll have another guest that we're actually going to announce in the next few days once we get the time set up. And man, everybody check out Snowy's book, and shitload of music to check out. We appreciate it as always for everybody who supports us and checks us out. And we shall see you on the Tampa Morgue the next episode. Peace, guys.
Sounds wonderful.